almost had it. You gotta be quicker than that.
And the winner is Dorfididdlewoo.
If we fall for, a bunch of provocative, tweets, funny,
Bing, bing,
Pocahontas,
bing, bing. No, she's got this goofy friend, Mike. She's a basket case. Donald Trump. Oh, boy. Goofus.
Hi everybody, it's me, Charlie. Hi. I am just getting started. I'm a little bit scattered today. It's been kind of a wild day. And by wild I mean I got a lot of shit done. I finished the dishes again. I had to clean up my dinner dishes from last night. I made the icebox cake or icebox pie, whatever it is. It's basically pudding. Next, it's homemade whipped cream. That's what it is. So I got that done after lunch today. Not to take care of my kids. I got the laundry folded and put away for the boys and myself. And I've been hovering around the 187 to 185 mark for the last like 3 weeks, which is a win for me. Okay. Usually, like, as soon as I stop losing weight, I shoot back up. So this time I've actually been like leveling out, which is nice. So that makes me feel confident in getting back to working out because now I don't feel like I have such a fight to get to where I was. You know, I'm not necessarily losing ground. Last time I checked my weight, I think I was like 185. Like, last time I recorded my weight for the yoga streams, I was 185. Last time I weighed myself, I was like 186. And it had been like halfway through the day. So anyway, because I've been losing weight, I've been having to take in some of my clothes. And I haven't had to do that since I used to cosplay. So I am trying to, I'm taking a bunch of dresses that are like too baggy on me now and don't look the best. It make me look like a cardboard. Like, I got hips. They look good. I should look good when I wear shit. So instead I cut them in a way that makes them. And I have a couple of tops that were like really, really loose. So I took those in. There's like a few others that I might like work on, but I've been so busy also trying to figure out costumes for stream that it's been just a little. I can move this now wherever because I've got a headphone in it. So I've just been kind of like busy doing shit. I managed to finish 2 dresses today and shirts yesterday. Today I basically just cut the line where I wanted it to be as even as I could, and then I hem-bond the bottom after pinning it. There's a sweater I have that I'd love to, like, it's a tight around here, but I'd love to go this way with it, but I just don't think it's gonna work with some of the seams are. I don't think I could do it right. I might be able to do it and it looks okay, but the big thing I need is sewing scissors. My good sewing scissors have either disappeared or been used on other things. So a good pair of sewing scissors is lovely. But that is a project for another day. What else? I think that's really been it. It's been pretty, like I said, busy. But like busy with like personal shit. Spider Chuck does whatever a spider can. Spider Chuck does whatever a Charlie can. Does whatever a Charlie Chuck. Yeah, I'm Spider Chuck today.
Christ, there's a boomer around here.
At least I look good for being older than. That's all I'm saying. Hydrate or dihydrate, y'all. Anyway, we're taking a slight break from the 2000s to cover some of the stuff that has been caused by the 2000s. or happened during the 2000s, like Trump allegedly most likely spending time, because I dropped it in the Discord 2 days ago, but Aubrey has dropped, maybe it wasn't 2 days ago, maybe it was yesterday. It was Sunday. That which was yesterday. So anyway, Aubrey put out his new Epstein video on Trump, which I was so excited for, especially when the new shit started dropping by the committee. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. So I want to talk about that, and also just like the growing frustration everybody's having with Trump. Like, it seems like across the board, people are like not happy. And I want to remind everybody before we get into some of these polls we're going to look at, is that these polls, most of them are done online. Most of these polls are conducted via email. Okay? Websites like u.gov, which you can sign up for at any time, not sponsored. Go there, you can sign up, you fill out a bunch of polls after you fill in like your demographics and stuff like that. I beat Super Mario 3D World main story. That's pretty cool. Oh, geez. Anyway, so you go in, you fill out these polls. If you want to see these polls reflect how you feel more, go make a YouGov account. YouGov is reported on nationally by MSNBC, CBS, and ABC. All these news stations, they look at YouGov. They look at YouGov. They look at Emerson. They look at Quinnipiac, and then there's like a few others that I can't think of off the top of my head. But like, go make a YouGov account. Go vote. Okay? This is the voting that actually matters, because obviously your congressional people don't give a shit about votes at home, right? Like, we can threaten, like, we're not going to vote for you all we want, but until a party replacement comes in, we're kind of scared. But they're not offering us anything, and they're just letting us stay in that position. So I think what matters more is affecting their numbers in the media, because that affects public perception even more. And I do think we could do better. Okay. I don't have a headphone in this ear, but for some reason it feels like I have phantom head. Anyway. I don't know if you guys have heard. All right. Oh. Boy, do I have a playlist for you today. Pretty sure I have a no, it's you.gov because of unemployment. No, it's u.gov. Oh, wait. Maybe it's u.gov. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here, go make an account on YouGov and go vote. Like, definitely have an account. I'm gonna, yeah, go do that if you want to see the poll numbers change. Because think about it, how many people are home getting an email? And a lot of these people have, like, you have a time frame to fill out these polls. So like, it could be 24 hours, it could be a week. So how many people check their email, respond to a poll, and then, like, that's it? Like, you check your email and then you click the link. Not many people do that. Now think of how many people, like, think of the usual people that are home checking their emails, okay? We're talking about, like, wine moms. We're talking about, like, old people, like, over the age of, like, 65, right? We're talking about college students. We're talking about, like, people who work 9 to 5s that are more corporate. Like, those people are checking their emails. Those are the people that are voting. If you want to see the polls reflect you, go vote. Like, the actual way. Like, this way. Also, go vote regularly. I know New Jersey's having the gubernatorial, the governor's race, this November. I urge people to do their research on their chosen party. I am very scared that we're going to elect Jack, because Jack has said he's going to let Trump into New Jersey and let ICE into New Jersey, and that's really scary. I don't know if they're here or not. I haven't checked any of those apps or anything like that. But I would really, really like if people didn't elect Jack. Okay, vote elsewhere. Right? I don't know how much I like the female running. I haven't heard anything about her. I just know that she's a witch face, but that doesn't mean you get my vote. And I've heard that her policies are more focused on like vote blue no matter who, not like I want to help the working class people. Because I think if I heard like I want to help the working class people, it would have popped somewhere up in my story or up in my timeline. I haven't seen anything on YouTube. I haven't seen anything on Twitter. I haven't seen anything on Instagram. I haven't seen anything on Facebook. I haven't seen anything on TikTok. I haven't seen fuck all about the Democratic candidate for New Jersey. Yeah, Mikey. I don't know anything about her. I know nothing. I don't know any of her policies other than I'm vote blue. Yeah, it's just not let the GOP win. Yeah, that's exactly how it feels right now. Like, but that's every race in New Jersey. And not say anything until October. Yeah, they had the debate the other day, but I haven't heard anything from her. Like, I didn't even hear people cover the debate. I didn't even know when it was happening until like it was like, oh, Mikey and Jack whatever square off. It was milk toast. Oh my god. See, in elections in Atlantic County and Cape May County, both where I have lived, I have never once heard anyone run on a policy. I've always heard, well, I'm not Republican. I don't like them. These guys are bad. And she's boring, and Jack sounded like a crazy person. Yeah, he was flying planes at the Ocean City Boardwalk that said "Blacks for Jack." My jaw dropped. I was like, "What am I looking at?" And then he flew like another one about Mikey or Mickey or whatever her name is. I literally was like, "What? Oh my god!" I'm sorry, but I don't think someone who says blacks should be a governor. I just hot take in 2025, okay, in New Jersey, a northern state above the Mason-Dixon line, they should not be using the word blacks, okay? Unless it's like, hey, what color wardrobe goes best with this? Like, what shades of color go best with this tie? That's the only time you should be using blacks, okay? That right there will be my only reason I vote Democrat. And so in New Jersey and most like boardwalk towns, we have these advertisement planes. They're biplanes or they're prop planes with like one big wing, and they drag like a sign behind them or like a flag or a banner or whatever. They do these really cool things. They like move down into the bay and hook it on and then fly off, and then they just kind of do laps around the boardwalk or like that section of the beach. And I'm telling you, when I saw a propeller plane flying by with Blacks for Jack on it, I can't vote for somebody in New Jersey that says that. But every race I've encountered in New Jersey since becoming voting age, the only person in all of my races, right? I've been voting since 2010. I have never missed like a midterm election, a special election, a group vote. I've never missed an election ever. Period. Okay? I always go in person too. I don't mind voting for mail. I did vote by mail for 2020, but I usually always go in person. Happily too, by the way. I have never once, other than one candidate, through the course of my, 15 years voting or however long, never once offered me something to vote for. It's always vote for me, not them. And that is so frustrating. But the only person who's ever offered anyone anything has been Bernie Sanders. And we saw what the DNC did to him. So it's really tough for me to get behind Dems. It really, really is. I wish I think I could find something on those emails. Debbie, wait, Debbie, Weiserman Schultz emails Bernie Sanders. I bet you guys didn't know about this. I bet very few of you are aware of this. I first learned about it on Tumblr as it was happening. So, in 2016, the Democratic National Committee email leak is a coalition of Democratic National Convention committee emails. I'm getting PTSD. I think people should know about this. I don't feel like this is something Blue would know. Blue was alive in 2016, but he was 13 years old. If my math is right. Or PTSD from Tumblr. So, emails stolen by one or more hackers. Okay, listen, I'm not going to say that they were stolen by hackers. Oh, wait, they go under a pseudonym. I was going to say, because I get CC'd on every single, like, DNC email where they should be BCCing. Like, they don't know what they're doing over there. Oh, no, 2016? 2016 was rough, man. I had a not so great year. But we'll get into that after this email. This information right here is what convinced me to change my party to Democrat so I could vote for Bernie Sanders. And the whole Democratic FOMO and Comey and Belch, and my boyfriend cheated on me and broke up with me. And it was Otacon's last year in Baltimore. By one or more hacker operations under the pseudonyms Glucifer 2.0. We got way too drunk that weekend. Yeah. Who are alleged to be Russian intelligence agency hackers, according to an indictment carried out by the Mueller investigation. These emails were subsequently leaked by June and July of 2016, and by WikiLeaks on July 22nd in 2016. Just before the 2016 Democratic National Convention. This collection included 19,252 emails and 8,034 attachments from the DNC, the governing body of the United States Democratic Party. The leak included emails from 7 key DNC staff members dating from January 2015 to May of 2016. On November 6, 2016, WikiLeaks released a second batch of DNC emails. They couldn't release it 2 days earlier. Adding 8,263 emails to its collection. The emails and documents show that the Democratic Party's National Committee favored Hillary Clinton over rival Bernie Sanders in the primaries. These releases caused significant harm to the Clinton campaign and have been cited as a potential contributing factor to her losses in the general election against Trump. Yes. The leak resulted... Yeah, I know a bunch of people who saw those emails and were like, no, fuck the DNC. I was not happy. The leaks resulted in allegations of bias against Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign in an apparent contradiction with DNC leadership's publicly stated neutrality, as several DNC operatives openly derided Sanders' campaigns and discussed ways to advance the Clinton nomination. Later, reveals included controversial DNC Clinton agreements dated before the primary regarding financial arrangements and control over policy and hiring decisions. The revelations prompted the resignation of DNC Chair W. Weiserman Schultz before the 2016 Democratic National Convention. The DNC issued a formal apology to Bernie Sanders and supporters for the inexcusable remarks made over email that did not reflect the DNC's steadfast commitment to neutrality during the nomination process. Bullshit. I think David Hogue getting voted out was another sign, another wake-up call for people that the DNC is not on your side. Like, this was a moment for us, Storfy, because we were able to physically see this happen. For people like in Blue's age range and younger, seen what they did, both with appointing Kamala right out the gate instead of just Joe Biden just dropping out. And the other thing I mentioned, the David Hogue vote out. These are big reasons why people are just sick of the DNC outside of just the awful shit the Democrats are doing. They are doing literally nothing. In fact, they're doing so much nothing that they're most likely gonna agree to this like spending package and not have a shutdown. Like, they would rather suck the shit from Republicans' buttholes than help the American people. Like, Chuck Schumer, and I've been saying this for forever, needs to go. Hakeem Jeffries needs to go. Cory Booker needs to go. And Cory Booker's from my state. Anyway, after the convention, DNC CEO Amy Dacey, CFO Brad Marshall, and Communications Director Luis Miranda also resigned in the wake of the controversy. Of course, they did it after the convention, not before. They wanted to make sure everything got implemented. On December 9th, 2016, the CIA told U.S. intelligence community included Russia conduct operations during the 2016 U.S. election, prevent Hillary Clinton from winning presidency. Multiple U.S. intelligence agencies direct ties to the Kremlin gave WikiLeaks hacked emails to the Democratic National. Okay. I don't know. This feels like a cover story. I really don't feel like this is like barely anybody heard about these emails. Because people like my grandparents, people like my parents didn't hear about these things. I had to bring them to their attention. And they watch regular news. I watch Tumblr. Claim the source of the emails was not Russian or any other. Okay. WikiLeaks did not reveal the source. Later, Julian Assange, founder of WikiLeaks, the source of the emails was not Russia or any other state. Yeah. Yeah, no, they're just blaming it on another hacker. Contents of leak. The emails leaked by WikiLeaks in two phases. The first on July 22nd, 2006, the second on November 6, 20. Revealed information about the DNC's interactions with media, Hillary Clinton and Bernie's campaign, and the financial contributions. It also includes donors of the Democratic Party, including credit cards and social, which could facilitate identity theft. Earlier in late 2016, for instructed reporters to visit DC Leaks website for emails to Democrats. With WikiLeaks of additional July 22nd, 2016, more than 150,000 stolen emails from either personal Gmail addresses or via the DNC that were related to Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign were published on the website. On August 12, 2016, DC about more than Democratic lawmakers their personal cell phones. Numerous prank calls that Hillary Clinton received from this discourse, along with loss of her campaign email security, severely disrupted her campaign, which changed its contact information on October. They had to go through like 2 months of dealing with that. In the emails, DNC staffers derided the Sanders campaign. The Washington Post reported as many of the most damaging emails suggest the campaign was actively trying to undermine Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign. Yes, I read a few of them. In May of 2016, the email chain, the DNC FCO Brad Marshall told DNC Chief Executive Officer Amy Dacey that they should have someone from the media ask Sanders if he is an atheist prior to the West Virginia primary. Isn't he Jewish? On May 21st, 2016, DNC National Press Secretary Mark Paustenbach sent an email to DNC spokesperson Louis Miranda mentioning a controversy that ensued the December 25th ensued in December 2015 when the national data director of the Sanders campaign and staffers accessed on the NGPVAN Inc. database. The party accused Sanders' campaign of improperly and brief access to the database and filed suit contract against, but dropped the suit in April 2016. Pausenbach suggested that the incident could be a narrative for story, which Bernie never had his act together and his campaign is a mess. DNC rejected the suggestion. The Washington Post, Pausenbach's suggestion, every way could be read as defensive of the committee rather than pushing negative information about Sanders. But this is negative information candidates. Following the Nevada Democratic Convention, Debbie Weiserman Schultz wrote about Jeff Weaver managing campaign. Damn liar, particularly scummy that he barely acknowledges the violent and threatening behavior that occurred. The email referred to a fight between supporters of Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton that had taken place on May 17th in Nevada. In another email, Debbie Weiserman Schultz said of Bernie Sanders, he isn't going to be president. The other email showed her stating that Sanders doesn't understand the Democratic Party. In May 2016, MSNBC Nika accused the DNC of bias against the Sanders campaign and called Weiserman Schultz to step down. Weiserman Schultz was upset at the negative media coverage of her accident and emailed the political director of MBC, Chuck Todd, that such coverage of her must stop. She was like, hey, they're being mean, stop it. Describing the coverage as the last straw, she ordered the DNC director to call MSNBC President Phil Griffin to demand an apology. So, I wish they were the email. Oh, boo, boo. All right, whatever. Anyway, that's a history lesson for today that happened in the 2016. So I hope you're happy with that. Control. All right, let's get back to what we were going to talk about. These aren't in any particular order. In fact, I needed to. Then I'm back.
If today's politics really.
Well, you're a subscriber now, so you can just rewind. But I literally just went over all of the DNC email scams. So, yeah, I don't know if you guys know this, but subscribers can rewind now on Twitch. So, and apparently, based off of what's been happening in Hassan's chat, if you are, me and my sister were walking home from the store, nice. If you rewind it and you're watching what's happening on the rewind, like if you pause it and then rewind it or whatever, you can send a chat and it pops up in the current chat, not like it pops up in the current chat, but you're responding to what's happening on stream. Oh my god. So yeah, you're gonna have to test that out sometime.
Turn on the economy.
Oh god, it's so loud.
As 81% of Americans who voted for Donald Trump said it did, then the economy might be flashing a red warning light to the president. Right now, 9 months into Donald Trump's second term, the national unemployment rate is 4.3%. 10.5% for young Americans ages 16.
And that's not including people who can't apply for unemployment anymore.
16 to 24, who face what is being called a no firing, no hiring economy. Just 22,000 jobs were added in August, and new government data shows employers created nearly 1 million fewer jobs over the past year than previously reported. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the overall U.S. tariff rate on imports sits at 19.5%. Tariffs have sharply raised prices for things like coffee, bananas, TVs, and toys. You know this. Last year, a pound of ground coffee cost an average of $6.31. Today, it's $8.87, a 33% increase. What's worse is that economists on both the right and the left agree it is only going to get worse.
Tariffs are a tax on imported goods. The customer pays tariff because the company is not going to absorb it. Please just go watch South Park.
But again, that's only part of the story. The other part is that the stock market is booming, hitting 28 highs this year. It's all boosted by the big promises of AI. Small business confidence is spiking as well, and the economy itself, according to the Commerce.
You know, I heard there's like this thing with the stock market, and this might not be right. It was fun watching it earlier. The coffee or the stock market? Oh, South Park. Yeah, no, that was great. I really enjoyed that. That was awesome. We'll have to do that when the next episode comes out.
Department grew at a rate of almost 4% in the second quarter, significantly stronger than previously reported. So how do we look at this? What do we make of all of it? How do we square this circle, as folks say? Are the booms and the busts affecting everybody equally?
Oh,
well,
right. So the stock market. So there's like this little like thing in the stock market that like it can be like tripped basically, and the algorithm, it's not the algorithm, but the system that reads the stocks and like projects them or what handles like all the line movement can be fucked with. And again, this is just like a random thing that I heard from like, you know, a crazy person at the bar. But you can fuck with the computer or the server or whatever, and if that goes down, the whole stock market goes down. And like I kind of believe that with like all the AI. Like I feel like if you just unplugged like Chat GPT or like cut the cord, like it would be gone, and then we'd never have to worry about it again. Or like we would until they fix the plug, but maybe then we'd all come to our senses, you know?
in order to figure this out and to understand what's happening, I thought we would turn to our very best and our very brightest business correspondent, NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans, who I have all my favorite conversations with.
Me too.
So Howard Lutnick the other day said something that, you know, caught people's attention, and it was that Donald Trump doesn't own the economy until next January. I had Jason Furman on, and he said, yeah, I guess that's fair to say. What do you think?
You know, but today, when you had a 3.8% GDP revision, the White House put out a statement, you know, lauding it, basically, and saying this was because of the president's fine work. So when it's a really good economic number, the president and his team take credit for.
They should do a Spider-Man movie where Aunt May is Spider-Man and said, can she be really old?
For it. Otherwise, they say at some point in the future, you know, it will be the Trump economy.
Look, they like it when it's good, and they don't own it when it's bad.
Presidents get too much credit and too much blame, I always say, for what goes on in the economy under their watch.
But this president is changing things in this economy in a way that other presidents have not.
Exactly.
He flings her dentures.
All right, the city of Portland, the state of...
Okay, Trump may send troops into Portland. Harry Eaton looks at what the public thinks. So it's just a freebie. A feeble woman web slinging around New York. Oh my God, in like a pair of Depends.
Oregon suing the Trump administration to block deployment of hundreds of National Guard troops to Portland. The president says he's doing it to protect ICE facilities. With us now, CNN chief data analyst Harry, and the administration clearly thinks this is a winning issue for them as they keep on doing it and leaning in. What do the polls say?
Yeah, this is fact check time. You know, the idea, oh, we're going to be hawkish on crime, we're going to be hawkish on immigration. It's good for us. But in fact, not necessarily. What are we talking about here? All right, Trump deploying National Guards to cities in the United States of America. Look at this. Just 42% of Americans support that idea of sending troops into cities like Portland. What about the opposition? Look at this. It's the lion's share. 58% opposed, and we're talking about 64% of independents who are opposed. So if Donald Trump thinks that potentially sending in the National Guard in a city like...
That's a CBS, look, that's a YouGov poll. I think it's weird how close it is. New York or Spider-Man? Or like how close these two are together. That is weird. But this is independents. 84%. You know, like how close the numbers are? Yeah. No, it's very... But this is a YouGov poll. Remember, we don't know how many people voted in this poll, right? It could have been 4 people. Or maybe like 10. The YouGov poll is done by email. So if you want to see this number change, get more people to change this number. Okay?
Who are opposed. So if Donald Trump thinks that potentially sending in the National Guard into cities like Portland is a winning political issue, the polling says, you are wrong, Mr. President.
The most analogous situation is what happened in Los Angeles, correct? What happened to the numbers there after the president did that then?
Yeah, we've heard this music before, right? We've heard this song before. And what happened the last time that Trump sent National Guards into a western city? Well, take a look at the change in Trump's net approval. Overall, it dropped 4 points. How about on immigration, which of course...
I'm also going to bet that number is high too, because this is post Charlie Kirk, where if you're watching Fox News and you're only listening to Trump, you're like, oh, these people are bad. These people are taking out their aggression on ICE. We need to calm this down, so we need to send in more cops. Like, sometimes people believe that in order to make things safer, you need more cops, when the numbers and like studies have shown that don't do that. You don't.
Those protests were about. Look at that. It dropped by 7 points. So we have history of Donald Trump sending the National Guard into a western city. And what happened was there were clear political ramifications for the President of the United States, and they were not good ramifications. What happened was his overall approval rating dropped by 4 points, and his immigration approval, which had been his best issue up to...
So as I understand it, Trump's current overall approval rating or disapproval, his overall approval rating is like 39%. So I went and I looked it up, and apparently, like, the lowest presidential approval rating was Richard Nixon right before he left office. And then like the next lowest was like Truman, I think. And so they were Richard Nixon was at 24%, Truman was at like 32%. But this was over the course of like 4 years. Or I don't know how long Nixon served, to be honest. So like over the course of 4 years, they went from like whatever their approval rating was to, 32%. Trump has been in office since January. Okay, 9 months. And he's already at 39%.
To that point, dropped by 7 points, went from net positive territory to net negative territory.
And in this case, he says he's doing it to protect ICE facilities, which brings us to the issue of ICE in general. What are opinions on this incident?
Yeah, so let's take a look at ICE approval. All right, ICE's net popularity rating. In Trump's first term, it was at 0 points. Not too great, but not too bad either. But take a look now. Look at this. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that agency, look at that. Minus 14 points. Down it goes because of their actions during the second Trump term. In fact, the Pew Research Center polled 16 different agencies. ICE's net popularity rating was 15th out of 16th. It was close to being the least popular of them all. This bottom line is, John, the president may think this is a politically winning issue for him, but the numbers tell a very different story. It's, in fact, a political loser.
Interesting. All right, Arent, thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.
Sarah.
All right, joining me.
I don't care about anything else. Okay.
Let me just...
I don't want any more talking heads. I just want the facts. Just talk to me like Walter Cronkite, okay?
Ask you to react to these numbers. So 100 National Guard troops have been sent to Illinois. You're correct, though, that the images were of militarized federal law enforcement. But the governor there making this warning to the federal government and the Trump administration, saying, quote, no one has asked for armed military troops, and calling it a, quote, unwanted occupation by ICE and potentially the military, and saying, get out. Your thoughts?
Well, I think this is clearly a vast overreach of federal authorities. There.
I don't want talking heads.
Okay. Remember that day back?
Wait.
Every week we get a new poll, an opinion poll about Donald Trump that's worse than the week before. This guy is just tanking across the board with each and every passing week. But this week we got a new YouGov poll that was so shocking, so amazing, and of course,
another YouGov poll. Go tell your friends, post it in Discords, tell everyone you know, like text it to your friends, be like, hey, are you frustrated with what's going on? This actually will help. And then just tell them what I said. The media looks at this. That is why we need to do something. Like, we need to break it. We need to break it. We gotta break our chains in the system and make people aware that, like, there are ways to get the media to talk about these things. We just have to get loud. And if the best way to do it is by going through a poll. Oh, I watched a YouTube video yesterday reacting to the video of Absolute Batman, and the dude reviewing it was like super bigoted. Doing it is like, oh, gross. I hate bigoted people, man. They're just so like
hilarious.
Gross.
That I had to take time to talk about it. Because according to this new YouGov poll, there is not a single age group in the United States that supports Donald Trump. He is underwater with his approval rating in every single age group. And that's just half the story. The other half is that among every single ethnicity, including white folk, Donald Trump has an underwater approval rating. For the first time ever.
Absolute Batman looks absolutely badass. I haven't heard anything about it.
The President of the United States is underwater with every single possible demographic. Let me read you these results because honestly, this is just hilarious to me. First and foremost, overall approval rating. When he came into office, he was positive 3 points. So he had a 3% basically approval rating or...
I'm going to try getting the paperback one. Nice. I only like hardcover.
Differential. But now he's underwater by 17 points. So that is a 20-point swing overall since he came into office. Now let's break it down by demographic. Trump enjoyed a 13 net positive approval rating among white Americans.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, I'm not reading that. Or am I going to try to visualize that? Trump. Donald Trump's approval rating is shifting within. Yeah, I might get hardcover because Amazon Prime would let get me hardcover in 2 days. All right. Hey. President Donald Trump's approval rating among women voters appears to be rebounding slightly after it hit a low point in August, according to a new polling data. I switched momentum of the sentence mid-type. You're good. In July, women gave the president a 31% approval rating and 65% disapproval rating, according to Quinnipiac University poll. By August, okay, again, how many people were polled? This is where I get frustrated. It's because, like, I want to know how many people answered that email. I want to know how many people are asked. Like, I think each poll should tell you how many people were surveyed or polled. I think that's a fair thing to ask. Anyway. Um. So
Our image.
this is the I've Had It podcast. I didn't know about them until like I don't know, like a month ago. Okay, that's not entirely true. I saw them while free scrolling YouTube, and I was worried that they were gonna be like hardcore liberals, like vote blue no matter who, blue and on, you know. And then I saw them on. They posted a few things on Twitter, and I really enjoyed it. And then I saw Hassan watching a video of it, and I was like, oh my god. And then they were on Hassan, and I was like, yes. So this is the I've Had It podcast. Here's the link. This one's a short, and then we're gonna watch one other video from them, and then we're gonna move into the Epstein stuff.
Your stupid idiot president, Kanks, is completely losing his mind over Jimmy Kimmel because this is the shit that he cares about. He doesn't care about the country. He doesn't care about national security. He doesn't care about policy. He cares about his fragile, pathetic, demented ego. He's gone bananas on Truth Social. I can't believe ABC fake news Jimmy Kimmel gave his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there.
Bananas.
Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not
bananas in this economy?
Funny, and who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage. And here is CNN pollster Harry Eaton on the numbers.
Views, Jimmy Kimmel Live video views. The 6-month median, the median video only gets 240,000. Look how many views Tuesday night's monologue already has. 6.7 million. That's over 25 times as large as the median Jimmy Kimmel video normally gets.
Kanks is so wildly unpopular in his creative.
President dude gone stupid, bro. Wait till you see this video that Aubrey put out. Wait until you see
this government of smoke and mirrors, that the public comes out and supports the people that you try to bully.
Go to the next one.
They flood the zone, but the whole thing is smoke and mirrors, you guys. The September polling is out, and Kanks's approval is so underwater. It's pathetic. Pop this up, Kylie.
Okay, Kanks is the president, short for Kankle. She calls him Kanks.
His overall approval rating is at 37%.
Okay, so that is lower than what I was told or what I read. And that's American research. 58% of people overall disapprove.
Only 34 approve of Kanks's performance with the economy. You guys, now we're just down to the cult. We're down to just the mid 30s that are hardline cultists, the people that went to the Nazi rally masquerading as a funeral for Charlie Kirk, the people that will not address the thing.
And the people who are answering their emails. The numbers are rough, LOL. I just want to say, and I know you weren't here, go make an account. Go make an account on YouGov.com and vote, because they just send out emails. Those polls are just an email. If more regular people voted in them, I think we would get through. They're all thrown up on all the media. Like, please, I beg you, all of you, go make a YouGov.com account and go fill out some polls, okay? If you want to see some actual change.
That really killed Charlie Kirk, which is right-wing extremism. And
you got to hit him in the propaganda. You got to hit him in the media. Okay? If you don't get it in front of the public's face, which we all know Trump watches all of the news shows, right? Especially, he watches everything, especially things that mention him. So you get a couple YouGov polls or one YouGov poll up on like CNN and ABC, and he's gonna shit his pants, and you are gonna see him do the most fascist fucking shit so fast. And like, it's just he's spiraling out of control every time his numbers go lower. And every time somebody brings up more Epstein stuff. Always every like Thursday, Friday, there's something new.
Gun violence. These people are completely, in my opinion, unreachable right now. Now, at some point, the big, beautiful bill and a lot of the things that this man has done are going to force them to see this. But this entire presidency is based on smoke and mirrors. And let me just illustrate the point like this. Chinese and Russian bots are all over social media, everywhere. And this was really interesting. We have some.
I don't think it's Chinese bots, okay? I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think China gives a shit other than just sitting there and laughing. Like, sometimes you don't need to react, right? And I think that's what China is doing. It is just watching as the US destroys itself, cannibalizes itself from the inside. And, because all China needed from us was to line their pockets. And they got to do that. And they got to do that in a way that let them build up the proper infrastructure for them and their people. They don't care about that. That is why the TikTok algorithm was so good. It's because they were trying to focus it on what would sell, right? Oh, what's going to sell the best to this person? Now, it doesn't have to be an actual product because content creators are kind of like a product or a commodity. So that's why TikTok is so good. And that's why the other algorithms were like based on like trying to connect people and then trying to sell you products versus like it sells you just products, like other social media, just products versus like TikTok sells you creators, which then leads to more products and consumption. But I don't think China cares. That's also why I think they gave it TikTok right to the United States.
Loose on X that are tracking things. This tweet went out from multiple verified accounts. As a lifelong Democrat, I didn't know what to make of Charlie Kirk. I've since spent several lunch breaks watching his debates, full videos, and have come away with the impression that we got him all wrong. The reaction from those on my side of the aisle has really made me, and the tweet goes on, that they've switched party to become a Republican. These are all bot accounts, and there are hundreds of thousands of them. These same accounts were coordinated with the MAGA administration within an hour or two of Charlie Kirk's assassination, murder.
I think they're American bots. I think anybody can buy bots in the United States and make them do whatever they want.
Administration.
I think there's probably somebody who works at X that might be able to do that.
And all of these bot accounts and the right-wing propagandists, I'm talking about Fox News and the podcasters, they all had a very coordinated effort with these bots to call for civil war, saying they did this. And when they say they're talking about the left. And when they say they're talking about the Antifa movement. And I just want to remind everybody that America, generally, our foreign policy is we are, as a country, Antifa. We are an anti-fascist nation. We went to Europe and helped fight fascism in World War II. That is typically the position of the American government. But the people and the adversaries of ours that control these bots on X and other online platforms have the exact same desire that these right-wing podcasters that are paid by Vladimir Putin and that Kanks, who is completely beholden to Vladimir Putin, has, which is to fight the enemy from within and have us withdraw from the national stage, wreck our economy so that these crazy closet demon queens can control the United States of America. You guys, that's just the data of what happens when there's a grouping of MAGA men somewhere and the grinder spike. Always. It's like we're going to lose our country for that guy and for all these closet demon queens. Okay, moving along while Pumps catches her breath. You're about to lose it right here. So think about this, you guys. This is the guy. We saw it in 1.0 when he talked about injecting bleach. Mm-hmm. He gave a batshit bonkers press conference yesterday claiming that Tylenol causes autism. Okay. And here he is, the great thinker of the United States of America, none other than Kankles McTaco Tits at his press conference. Play the clip.
First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of well, let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen.
Almost as bad as Bush. Almost as bad as Bush.
Is that okay? Which is basically commonly known as Tylenol during pregnancy.
Every time he says that, that's another page in the lawsuit I'm seeing being filed, you know?
Can be associated with a very increased risk of autism.
Pumps. Okay, number one, I always think we've hit rock bottom as a nation. The propaganda, the lying, the hatefulness, the cruelty, we've hit rock bottom. And then I see this and I think, well, no, we're close to rock bottom because every day it just gets worse. And yes, him mispronouncing things is funny, but this is dangerous.
Yeah.
This is dangerous because my first instinct was no one is going to believe these stupid dumb fucks. But then I hear this medicine that Dr. Oz owns, the supplement company that's now approved, you know, it goes on a run of sale. And so I'm like, people do believe this. And I just look at this administration and I think not only are we...
They sat there, said they defamed Tylenol. Okay. Actually, this is the perfect defamation case. Let me see if I can do this right? Okay. So, Trump administration, they say Tylenol is bad. Don't take Tylenol. Okay? They are knowingly telling people and spreading information. Right? They say they have paperwork. They're all standing behind this information. Then they say, wait, buy this drug instead that we approve of. Aside that being shady as fuck, okay? They told a lie. They disseminated the lie with intent, with malice, in order to hurt the Tylenol company. And they knowingly did that. And on top of that, they are causing damages by saying, don't take Tylenol, take this stuff instead. And also probably doing some funky stuff with like Medicaid to like get it so like you get it through Medicaid, which will then be more likely to get. Although Tylenol, you don't need Medicaid. I don't know. I think it's so stupid. But I do think, not being a defamation lawyer, but having enjoyed many defamation lawsuits, I definitely see Tylenol might have a case there.
Trying to make billionaires richer and poor people have less. Now we're in the business of not protecting children's health. And I worry about that because at some point, these elite people do not think poor people and sick people have any value.
Yeah.
And that is where we are heading with this.
Yeah.
I think that that's very well said. And I think what we're going to have to start talking about as we accelerate into their plans is I heard that California, Washington, and Oregon are forming an alliance, and they will have their own health departments that put out records. And I've also read some articles about what's called a soft succession. And this is not where states secede from the union, but they form alliances on the West Coast and on the East Coast. And they're still a part of the union, but don't really participate much with the federal government, withhold federal tax dollars, because most of these states, as we know, are donor states. Where we live in a parasitic state where we receive taxpayer money from Californians, from New Yorkers to fund the abysmal, horrific policies in Oklahoma. And so it's going to be, it's interesting because I don't see these people allowing for midterms. I just don't see it. We started saying that early, and the closer and closer we get to all of this, unless any of these oligarchs stand up or corporations stand up, which I don't see them doing it.
It's got to be the people.
And SCOTUS isn't going to stand up, which brings me to this. And I want to get Pumps' opinion on this. In a 6-3 decision, SCOTUS allows Trump to dismiss the last Democratic member of the Federal Trade Commission, signaling a potential overturn of a 90-year-old ruling protecting independent agencies from executive control. This court, these Ivy League educated judges, have seen the Tylenol video. They've seen the inject with bleach.
Yep.
They saw January 6th. They see the attacks on the First Amendment, and they still vote to protect him because they want to consolidate power with that guy. That everybody's looking beyond him already, and right behind Kanks is Lil Smokey, and he is far
Little Smokey is JD Vance.
more competent in his diabolical nature than Kanks is.
And they see the Charlie Kirk. They see the white supremacy. They see how Congress has completely left the building in terms of being an co-equal branch of government. And they are handing our country and our democracy.
I don't feel like Congress has been an equal branch of government since 9/11. I feel like anytime 9/11 or after, since the Bush administration, I feel like Congress has just been walked all over.
To authoritarianism.
And allowed it.
Full stop. And I don't know if it's because they think that from now on, no administration will ever be in office besides the right-wing radicals, but to overturn 90 years of precedent and take away autonomy of federal agencies is so dangerous. And it
'Cause they
is
got
one
rich,
step
yeah.
closer to authoritarianism. And these men, because all but one are a man in the majority, they want an authoritarian, because if they didn't, we would not be here. They've seen how he undermines the court system. They don't care.
Well, and you said they've seen the white supremacy, and I would argue that they are white
Right.
supremacists
That-
because
yeah.
if you look at the flag flying of Justice Alito's wife, and you look at bizarrely Clarence Thomas's white wife, and Clarence Thomas, of course, is the black member of the right part of the SCOTUS bench. She's a total white supremacist, had to be deprogrammed from a cult prior. Like in her history, in her biography, she was in a cult before she found MAGA. And now she's in a new one. And I agree with you, Pumps, that they are ruling as though a Democrat will never benefit from these rules.
That's right.
Period. And this is incredibly dangerous. And it leads
Or a socialist.
me to
Ooh.
a devastating story. And in a normal first world country that valued democracy and human rights and civil liberties, this would be breaking news. This just gets buried. Rolling Stone is reporting the following. What is alarming today is the emerging pattern of shadowy deportations of people who have not had access to a court or any meaningful form of due process, removals that bear the hallmarks of forced disappearance under international law. ICE is deporting people to Africa on nearly untrackable military flights.
They're
At least one of
trafficking
the flights
people.
dumped people in a prison camp in Ghana, a country where they had no ties. And this is a really devastating reality as an American, that Congress and a lot of the right wingers that claim they're big Christians, family values, care about people. And then the Supreme Court justices don't care about this, because I think that this is how you're defined as a person and as a country. How do you treat the most vulnerable? Innocent until proven guilty. Everybody has their day in court. That is gone. This is authoritarianism. It's not one more step to being an authoritarian regime. We are an authoritarian regime that is disappearing people and dumping them in prison camps. In Ghana, where are the courts? Where is Congress? Where is the media, with the exception of Rolling Stone?
They're nowhere. And the thing is, the lower courts in the federal system have put blocks and injunctions on Trump's behavior and all of these deportations. It's SCOTUS that has allowed it to happen. The lower courts understand the law. They're not letting him do it. They're willing to overturn the law and disappear people in the United States of America without due process. And I'm with you. Why is this not on the front page of every single newspaper all day, every day? And then I go back to you because there's so much fuckery going on.
Well, and because the people who own all of those organizations are themselves cultists who want to consolidate power to this
Or they just don't think Trump's gonna come for them. They're so rich. He's like Jeff Bezos. I don't think he's a cultist of the MAGA. Like, I don't think he's part of MAGA, but I do think that, like, he probably thinks he's out of Trump's reach, how rich he is, and I don't think that's a wise decision to think that.
and beyond, which would be to the failed drag queen, Lil Smokey, who then is tied to Peter Thiel. And when you think about from a MAGA perspective, if you're a MAGA person, that you have Rupert Murdoch, foreign born. And I don't care about this stuff. I'm not like a super, I have friends that are Americans that were born in a different country, came over here as children that have a US passport. And to me, they're my fellow Americans. But MAGA doesn't see it the same way I do. You have an Australian, and then a South African, and then a German-born South African that have more power, the three of them, that trifecta of evil, have more power than all of the real Americans per MAGA. You know, rural, I'm a real American with my truck and my gun and my truck nuts and my Trump flag. These foreign-born people have decided that they think American democracy is bad. And they are going to overthrow it. And Musk isn't just stopping here. He has his sights for Europe as well.
That's a really great way to put that. That is a great way to put that.
And at the end of the day, these are incredibly broken, dysfunctional people who have accelerated and been very accomplished in capitalism. And they've been able to do that in a country where we value your success at capitalism more than we value your conviction as an individual to stand up for other people. And so this embrace of unregulated capitalism and valuing money over human beings decade after decade after decade has led us to the biggest manifestation of that moral shortcoming all in one person, which is Kanks.
Yeah.
All right. That's all we have for this episode.
They're so good. Make sure you check out the link. All right. They mentioned Elon. And you know why that's important?
Okay. Remember that day back in June when Elon Musk and Donald Trump's bromance very publicly crashed out? Can you believe that was June? And remember this tweet from that very day? Time to drop the really big bomb, Musk wrote. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Well,
that was my D-Day.
Nearly 4 months have passed since then, and the Trump administration still has not released the Epstein files. The story goes on. But Democrats have been fighting tooth and nail to get their hands on whatever documents they can. And today, Democrats on the House Oversight Committee released new documents obtained from Epstein's estate. This batch included flight logs and some of Epstein's daily schedules. Now, included in those documents are the names of some pretty powerful people, including Trump allies like billionaire Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon, and yes, Elon Musk himself. As Epstein's calendar put it, reminder, Elon Musk to Island, December 6th. Is this still happening? Question mark. There you go. Oh, well, I mean, okay then. It's there. And look, there's a running theme here. Every time the House Oversight Committee gets to work, something new comes to light. We've seen that over and over again. That's kind of the point. That's why they want all the files released. And there's been a big step forward in the House toward doing just that. The discharge petition to force a vote on a resolution to compel the release of the Epstein files is now on track to hit the required 218 signatures. Democrat Adelita Grijalva won a special election in Arizona on Tuesday, but she hasn't been sworn in yet. Grijalva and other Democrats have said Speaker Mike Johnson can swear her in at any moment, but that he's dragging his feet. 2 weeks ago, Johnson swore in another Democrat based on unofficial results, but now he's insisting on official results to come in before swearing in Adelita Grijalva. Funny how that works.
I wonder
isn't
if that's because she's publicly said that she would sign the release the Epstein file vote thing.
And yes, Grijalva thinks the Epstein petition is definitely a factor.
I'm sort of wondering why in 2 weeks the rules are so different, and maybe it has something to do with the fact that I'm number 218.
Maybe it does. I bet it does. Joining us now is Congressman Ro Khanna, a Democrat from California and member of the House Oversight Committee. As always, there's so much to ask you about. I just have to just start by, can we just start on the irony that the Musk tweet was in some ways the spark that lit the match, and today we see a document with Elon Musk's name in it. What did you think when you saw that?
You know, I'm just amazed how many powerful people does Jeffrey Epstein know? I mean, this is like the president of the United States. He's hanging out with Musk, with Bill Gates, with Peter Thiel. The list is endless. And this is why Americans are asking, what is behind this? And the reality is, okay, Elon issued a denial. He said, I wasn't at the island. You
Steve Bannon, Trump's friend.
know what the best way to know is? Just release the files. Release all the files, get all the evidence out there, and we'll have the facts out. But the drip, drip, drip actually is just feeding more concern that elite people are being protected.
No question about that. And in the interim, while they're dragging their feet, you guys are tirelessly pushing for more information. I mean, Steve Bannon is also mentioned in these documents. Your colleague, Ranking Member Robert Garcia, said back in July that he was a target for his 15 hours of Epstein footage, that in terms of a subpoena target. Are you going to ask the committee for a subpoena for him? I mean, is this somebody whose information and all of his footage would be of interest to the committee getting their hands on?
Absolutely. I mean, he talked to Epstein at a time where Epstein already had the plea deal. So he has very relevant information. Epstein's brother wanted the information that Bannon had. But we should have complete transparency, and we should have the release of the files. And, you know, Massey and I have this discharge petition. You mentioned it in your monologue that Alita Grajova will be the 218th vote. That is very rare. She should be sworn in on Tuesday. That's the pro forma session. And I just want your viewers to know there were two Florida openings when Matt Gaetz left Congress and when Michael Waltz left Congress, and the Republicans swore them in on a pro forma session. That means a session where you don't have votes. They would be breaking precedent by not doing that on Tuesday. The only reason that they don't want us to have votes and that they aren't swearing her in is because of this Epstein files. Can you believe that? The government is about to shut down, and they are so concerned about protecting these rich, powerful men and not having a vote on Epstein that they're not willing to swear in someone who won 69 to 29 in her election, and they're not willing to have us take votes this week.
I mean, I can believe it because we've seen what they've done over the last many, many months. But yes, I'm glad you called it out so people understand exactly what's happening here. They're between Grajova's swearing in and the potential for a shutdown, there's a lot of time, and I know you're tracking this and you've talked about it, for Republicans to kind of try to pull back those four who have said they'd be for signing the discharge petition. Are you concerned about that? How solid do you think they are?
I was concerned, and I've been texting Massey all weekend, and they have been getting pressure from the Republican leadership, from the White House. But to their credit, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert are standing firm, and they have not taken their name off. And I think in this case, it's really the human aspect. I mean, they met the survivors. They saw them in tears, recounting how they were raped at the age of 14 and then told to go recruit other junior high and high school students to be abused. You can't hear that and not be moved on just a human level. And that is why I'm confident that they're going to stick with it. And as soon as we can get Adelita Grajova sworn in, as she is supposed to be done constitutionally and based on tradition, we will get the vote on this petition, and it's going to pass.
Next week, just a couple of days from now, September 30th, the government is on track to shut down. There are a range of reasons for this, including Republicans won't fund health care subsidies, which I think is a really important part of this, that millions of people rely on. What's going to happen? What do you make of it? What should people understand about it?
Well, look, the premiums for people are going to go up 80 to 90% if you are on health care on the exchange. And one of the issues is that they shouldn't be taking away the health care. But there's a much bigger issue as well, Jen, and that is this is an administration that is prosecuting its enemies. It's an administration that is deporting people without due process. It's an administration that is threatening people's free speech if they criticize the views of Charlie Kirk. It's an administration that is putting blanket tariffs that are raising people's prices. So much for Donald Trump's promise. I'm going to reduce and lower your prices on day one. All he's done is raise prices. And the Democrats are just saying we're not going
drink,
and I know things.
complicit
The
with an
_prodigy
unconstitutional
_B
government
would
that
like
is
you to
raising the
drink
prices,
something.
that is making your health care more affordable, less affordable. You have the votes. You have the Republicans in the Senate, the House. You have the presidency. Go do this if you want to do it, but we're not going to be part of it.
Well, it's going to be a big story next week. We'll all be watching closely. Congressman Ro Khanna, thank you so much for joining.
Okay, you guys ready? So, one of my favorite.
This video is brought to you by Simply Safe. There's no safe like.
One of my favorite YouTubers, Aubrey, just put out his like part 5 of the Jeffrey Epstein saga, right? I think it's part 5. It's on his page. Go check him out. But anyway, we're going to watch this. It is a little bit long. I might get up and get a snack at some point. But I urge you, please go like, share, and subscribe to Aubrey. They're, like I said, they're one of my favorite YouTubers. I watch them as soon as they come out, even when it's not necessarily a topic that I know much about. But we've been following this saga here on the channel for a while. So...
like Simply Safe.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
I urged Epstein. I said, you should release these pictures. And I remember Epstein said, I may be a pervert, but I'm not crazy. And then he said, Trump is a man without any scruples. Chill went up my back then.
Scruples is such a good word. I watched that video the other day while I was playing Mario. Awesome! We're gonna watch it again. The Tale of Two Florida Men. I love that Aubrey does his own music and his own editing. Everything, it's just so incredible. It's amazing that, like, this is what YouTube is now compared to, like, what we saw, you know, this past week when we did our 2000s review. And, like, pairing, like, this wouldn't have existed without YouTube. There's no way somebody like Aubrey would have picked up a camera and filmed, like, this big whole long 5 to 15 hour saga of Jeffrey Epstein and put it up at Sundance Film Festival. Like, that's just not a thing. Like, so this is incredible.
That was close to straight.
Halloween 1997, a prominent New York real estate tycoon had just published his 3rd book, The Art of the Comeback. Following up The Art of the Deal and Surviving at the Top, Donald Trump, or rather his team of ghostwriters, recount how the early 90s were some of the most tumultuous years for the Trump brand, making sure to note how, thanks to some cunning resilience and big-brained financial maneuvers, the genius mogul managed to overcome the odds. At least according to those who have read the fucking thing. A truly thrilling saga that seemed to resonate with at least one other powerful man who kept a signed copy of the book on his shelf at home. To Jeff, the front page inscription read, "You are the greatest." Dated the same month it released, Donald Trump had dedicated this copy of The Art of the Comeback to his good friend, Jeffrey Epstein. The president has stamped his name on a total of 18 books over the years, and if you were to look at his 2004 work, How to Get Rich, you'll find countless passages of celebrity name drops, where Trump brags about all the famous movie stars and politicians he kept in his Rolodex. And if you turn to page 185, you'll find an interesting passage regarding a cryptic man identified only by his first name.
Quote, the mysterious Jeffrey calls in. As mysterious as Jeffrey is, he's one of the few people I know who can get by on just a first name, Trump wrote. My staff never asks for a last name in his case, which in a way puts him up there with Elvis. Not that Elvis calls in much these days, but you never know. That's why I have a floor for security. Sometimes you need it. We've had some calls.
Awkward first name basis. Bro, I understand he's trying to make a joke about Elvis being dead, but I don't think Elvis would have ever called Trump. I don't think Trump was alive for any of Elvis, but I could be wrong on that. Yeah, so like why would Elvis call any of the Trumps? That's a really bad joke.
You wouldn't believe. 20 years
Who's Elvis? I think he's like a pop star or something.
after writing those words, the president continues to be haunted by a mysterious Jeffrey with no end in sight. Congress just returned from one of their many
Elvis.
vacations, which means
I do too. I'm so old. I know him. Toilet Man.
the battle for the release of the Epstein files wages on. For the first time ever, Democrats like Ro Khanna are holding press conferences with the likes of Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene, standing alongside survivors who demand transparency and justice from a government who has, for over 2 decades, deprived them of both. Instead of being heard, they've been met with skepticism and hostility from the executive branch and its most fervent defenders. But if this new era is to be defined by integrity, accountability, and the unwavering pursuit of justice, as FBI Director Kash Patel boldly proclaimed back in February, then why have none of these women been contacted even once by the DOJ?
Do any of you feel that the DOJ has communicated with you enough this year? No. No. Have any of you had any communication with the DOJ? No. Nobody in this room has heard at all from the Department of Justice? No.
As opposed to lifting the veil on the disgusting actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators, which is the promise Attorney General Pam Bondi made earlier this year, nothing new has been released by her department. No new investigations have been opened, the footage they have shown us was tampered with, and Ghislaine Maxwell now resides at a nicer, minimal security prison camp, while the women she and Epstein preyed upon are kept in the dark. They can't even properly tell their story without being drowned out by the deafening sounds of a White House flyover directly ordered by the president.
This woman abused children.
If Trump doesn't want them convening in public, the least he could do is meet with them in private, as one of Epstein's survivors, a registered Republican, has suggested.
Mr. President Donald J. Trump, I am a registered Republican, not that that matters because this is not political. However, I cordially invite you to the Capitol to meet me in person so you can understand this is not a hoax.
Will you meet with the Epstein victims? Do you plan to meet with?
I don't know about, nobody suggested that.
The likelihood of such a meeting taking place, though, seems hopelessly low at this point, especially when you consider the president's attitude towards Republican House members like Thomas Massey, who's planted himself firmly on the side of justice by calling for a release.
And since this was posted a few days ago, I'm sure it was edited a few days ago, or longer than that. And we now know from the last news we just watched that they are refusing to swear in a Democratic seat holder, a Democratic vote elected official, so that they don't sign the petition to release the files. So, like, we know they're doing everything they can to stop these Epstein files from coming out.
Of all files related to the late pedophile. But instead of working alongside Massey to bring these aims to fruition, the president has gone out and said this.
This guy Massey, he's going to be taken out. He's no good. He never votes. He never votes for anything, you know? It's like he's from Kentucky. He thinks he gets publicity by voting now. It's terrible, some of these guys. So sometimes you have to take him out.
Yeah, but they got him.
What does that mean?
I liked him too.
What do you mean they got him? In fact, while Trump sets his crosshairs on Massey, some mega donors have already begun the groundwork. Paul Singer, an 81-year-old hedge fund manager worth about $6-7 billion, has contributed 7 figures through one Trump-aligned super PAC over the summer, as reported by Politico, all for the purpose of unseating Massey and replacing him with a more compliant puppet willing to carry out the bidding of a leader who
but think about like what Massey could run on. You know, they are literally trying to silence me because they don't want me to release the Epstein files. We need to get justice for these children that were trafficked. And like he could just run a campaign on that. And he'd absolutely wonderful in the polls.
Surrounds himself with sycophants and
I was gonna say kill it, and I was like, this is not the time to use those words.
con artists willing to overlook the more unsavory sides of his character. But what do those sides look like exactly? Well, without the files, we don't definitively know, do we? I mean, that's kind of part of the issue. But what we can do is look at what's already out there. And in this video, we're gonna be doing exactly that. Join me as we take a closer look at the friendship between two of humanity's greatest villains. Two incredibly rich businessmen who, at one point or another, belonged to the modeling industry. Two Florida men who resided right next to each other in Palm Beach for over a decade. A real estate mogul and his financier friend. A president and a suspected government asset. And for any government agent who may be watching this video right now, I'm just kidding. This whole video is a joke, it's satire. Trump was only friends with Epstein in Minecraft. I love the president, I voted for him 11 times. Please don't deport me to Uganda.
President Trump, for the first time, now reacting to the release of that notorious
Fire
Jeffrey Epstein
edits.
birthday book, telling NBC's Garrett Haake in a phone call, it's a dead issue. That's after the House Oversight Committee released these images.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit.
But you know,
It's so hard to watch a Aubrey video because I want to like, all I can do is sit there and go, wow, editing is incredible. Holy shit, that cut was incredible. Oh my God, I love how he matched the beat up with dropping the pictures and adding a backdrop. But I can't keep saying that out loud because then I start focusing on how good the music is and how well it paired up with the editing and how great the sound selection is. And then I'm like, oh, that's such a good point to bring up. But then I'm like, oh, but the frames, look at the angles and the pictures he's choosing and the footage. Like, it's all good. Like, all of it. There isn't a part I don't like.
you know who may love cameras even more than the subject of this video?
Ooh, ad break.
Me.
I'm gonna
I
go
love
use
all
the bathroom
types
and
of
get more water.
cameras. Film cameras, digital cameras. I guess that's kind of all of them actually, but what I find especially important in this day and age are security cameras, as you can never be too prepared when it comes to keeping your home safe. That's right, this video is sponsored by Simply Safe. I remember a few years ago, my roommate heard the front door to our apartment opening at about 4:30 in the morning. He says he remembers waking up, hearing footsteps, the sound of the refrigerator door opening, then he fell back asleep. He just assumed it was me, but the issue is, I was at my parents' house 40 minutes away. We still have no idea who waltzed into our apartment that night and evidently stole something out of our fridge, but we definitely would have been more prepared had we, first of all, locked the door, but more importantly, known about Simply Safe. There's a reason Simply Safe has been named one of the absolute best home security systems 5 years in a row by US News and World Report, and has been recognized for their top customer service by Newsweek and USA Today. With Simply Safe, you can equip your home with both indoor and outdoor security cameras, doorbell cameras, entry sensors, water sensors, temperature sensors, glass break sensors, a panic button, a combination smoke and carbon monoxide detector, and so much more. With the app, you can arm and disarm the system, view camera feeds, and manage all features, giving you full control of your security from anywhere at any time. And with Simply Safe Active Guard, crime can be stopped before it happens. When your outdoor camera identifies a potential threat, it alerts a Simply Safe security agent in real time, giving you just another layer of protection to keep you and your loved ones safe. Professional installation is available, but I was able to set it up myself in not that much time and with not that much brain power, frankly. The best part is there are no long-term contracts and monitoring plans start at around $1 a day. Save 50% on your Simply Safe security system when you sign up for a professional monitoring plan and get your first month completely free. Visit simplysafe.com/jobread to customize yours today. Huge thanks again to Simply Safe for sponsoring this video, and remember, there's no safe like Simply Safe. Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were close.
Trump is at the show with Melania, who is, of course, now First Lady, seated a few feet away from Epstein. You can see them chatting during the show as well.
So close, in fact, that the future president found himself mentioned several times in the infamous birthday book that was compiled for the late predator's 50th birthday in 2003. Apart from the widely reported body letter that we all know and love, there's also this page where Epstein and a Mar-a-Lago member appear to be joking about selling a fully depreciated woman to Trump for $22,000. The caption reads, "Jeffrey showing early talents with money and women. Sells fully depreciated woman to Donald Trump for $22,500. Showed early people skills too." The implications of which are bone-chilling. Also, if you're wondering who this gentleman is, that's Joel Pashkow, the former chairman of a New York real estate company. He was also reported to have contributed this wonderful image of some clip art women in swimsuits. Nothing weird there. Ignore the other drawing that appears on the following page of the book, which seems to depict Epstein grooming young girls at what some have said looks like Mar-a-Lago in the background. So that's awesome. Joel Pashkow is also named extensively in Epstein's Little Black Book. Some of his phone numbers even have the words "Great Neck" written next to them, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. It's important to point out that one of the only other people listed so extensively in the pedophile's contact book happens to be the current president of the United States. See, I brought it back around. The genesis of Donald and Jeffrey's sordid relationship has always been murky. We don't know exactly how or where the two initially met, but we can pretty safely assume it had to do with their shared social circles. After all, Donald Trump has already been known to socialize with British media magnate and alleged Mossad spy Robert Maxwell during the late 80s and early 90s, partying on the Lady Ghislaine, Robert's yacht, according to what journalist John Preston wrote in his 2021 book, Fall. For a time, Donald Trump and Robert Maxwell had once competed for ownership of the famed tabloid The New York Daily News. According to what its previous owner, James Hodge, told Preston, Trump was persistent. Donald would never take no for an answer, he said. He never asked whether the paper
Meant to bring a candle out. I totally forgot. I was like... Anyway, I got some of my icebox pie, pudding cake, whatever you want to call it.
Christ, there's a boomer around here.
Oh my god, shut up. Let me have my early bird special, okay? Oh, wait. It's pudding, Scooby snacks, and homemade whipped cream. Sorry.
was making money or anything like that. He just wanted it. I think about the 5th time he called, I said, "Donald, let me put it to you in plain English. It's not for sale." At the time, I had no idea why the hell he wanted to buy this struggling tabloid. It was only later that I realized he was looking for a base for his entry into politics. In the
like old, no, it is an old people snack. It's really good. I put vanilla, and cinnamon and a little bit of clove in the whipped cream, and I whipped it. Whipped it good.
And Robert Maxwell reigned victorious after purchasing the paper in March 1991. But that victory would be short-lived, as the mogul met his untimely and mysterious demise later that year when he fell off his yacht and plunged to a watery grave. Though some say it was a suicide.
Yeah, that's suspicious.
As he was likely about to face a lengthy court battle for illegally dipping into his company's pension funds, embezzling his own employees to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Others aren't as convinced that a man of Robert's stature would simply take his own life, and in such a dramatic fashion too. Some, like his youngest daughter Ghislaine, believe he was murdered, perhaps as a result of his espionage work at the behest of a foreign entity, as asserted in Gordon Thomas and Martin Dillon's 2002 book, Robert Maxwell, Israel's Super Spy. What we know for certain, however, is that a few days after Robert's bizarre demise, his Oxford-educated daughter was pictured here attending the memorial service at the Trump Plaza Hotel in New York City. It was also the first time Ghislaine was ever photographed next to Jeffrey Epstein. Regardless of who or what initially brought Trump and Epstein together, we know it happened sometime in the late 80s. That's at least according to what Trump himself told New York Magazine in 2002. You know, when he called Jeffrey Epstein a terrific guy who's a lot of fun to be with and likes beautiful women as much as he does, many of them on the younger side. I'm sure you've heard it quoted a million times by now. And throughout all my years of researching Jeffrey Epstein, I always knew these two had been close. I just wasn't aware of how close until these past few months, when a slow drip of new revelations began trickling out into the media, consisting of never-before-seen evidence like the birthday book, the signed copy of How to Get Rich that we talked about, and additional testimony from those who knew the two men very well. In the words of Jeffrey's brother Mark Epstein, they were very close. They were good friends. Jeffrey used to sometimes tell me things that Donald said that were funny. I know Donald was in Jeff's office a lot back in the 90s. It's documented that Donald flew on Jeff's plane a number of times. I don't know if they ever checked, but I know Jeff flew in Donald's plane also. I don't know if they've ever looked at the flight logs. They were good friends. In fact, they were such good friends, Mark says, that Trump seemed to find no issue at all in divulging the more unsavory side of his lifestyle with the financier. Mark recalls one exchange his brother told him about. I was talking to Jeffrey, and he told me that he was talking to Donald, and that he asked Donald...
And then he was talking to Ivanka, and Ivanka explained to Eric
how can you sleep with so many married women? And Donald's answer was, because it's so wrong. Now, amongst guys, that was a funny line. And then when we were on the plane, Jeffrey asked Donald the same.
dribble. Like all like my whole mouth. Like I just missed my mouth, basically. I think the only part of my mouth that caught the water were like these two sides of my lip. Like it went down the middle and out the side.
Question, so that I could hear Donald say it. For Jeffrey to ask him that question, number one, he would have to know that Donald slept with a lot of married women, and he probably got that information from Donald. That's not the kind of question you ask a casual acquaintance.
Your underscore pal underscore blue 69 would like you to drink something.
I'm drinking. Oh my god. Excuse me.
That's a question that you ask a good friend that you can get away with asking those kinds of questions. It's also worth noting how this isn't the only time Epstein has made such a claim. Out of his supposed
Hydration Nation.
100 hours of recorded interviews conducted between the years 2014 and 2019 with tabloid writer Michael Wolff, we do have real actual audio of Jeffrey Epstein himself discussing Trump's proclivity for sleeping with his friends' wives.
Hydrate again reminded me of this. Hold on, it's the dumbest thing ever. Oh, what is it? If I can't find it, I'm gonna be so mad. I don't know why Sonic stuff is coming up. Back one. I just did funny. I meme. Hydro storm. Hydro storm. Trust me, it is worth the free scroll right now. No, can't see the keyboard, so I'm just kind of free. A Day in the Life of Dracula? Okay. Fuck. Okay. Okay. Okay.
My rebuff in the
Yes! Okay, this is gonna be very hard to understand, but trust me, it's worth it.
Ah, 'tis the morning of my rebuff in the resurrection of Castlevania. A bit of a night for me to go out for pleasure. Good morning, Dracula. If it isn't my loyal acquaintance, Death, how goes it? I made your favorite pot roast. Oh boy, pot roast. That so happens to be the feast which I have most delight in feasting upon. How's the pot roast, Dracula? This pot roast is delicious. How goes my investments? Your investments are going wonderful, Dracula. In fact, we have all of your money in the money vault. Splendid! Dracula! This better be important because I am trying to enjoy my tea. There's a Belmont in the castle. A Belmont in the castle? Ah, shit. God damn. Fuck. Piss. Oh my god. Already? Oh my.
Anytime I like go on like a tear, I'm like, God damn it, fuck, piss, like in that order.
God damn. Death. Help me stuff this pot roast into these candles. I can't let Belmont get to them. Last time I had that pot roast, he stole them. Fucking bastard. Oh my god. Shit. God damn. Help me stuff my money into my lanterns. Belmont keeps stealing all my cash. Dracula, Belmont just took down Werewolf. Fucking useless ass werewolf. I pay that bitch so much money to take down Belmont. That's it. He just lost his boss status. He's now a normal ass enemy. Just like all those
I got ice cream and apple pie. Excellent.
farmers. Succubus is gone too.
Succubus, god damn it.
What? Oh, god damn it. God damn it.
Succubus, god damn it.
God damn it. Succubus, god damn it. You know, I kind of like Succubus too. Fucking ass. Don't worry, Dracula. I'll take him to... Oh, wait, nope. Belmont's got me in a headlock. Oh, no. He's using the holy weapon. And, I'm dead. What? Already? God damn it. Okay. All right. Calm down, Dracula. Okay, let's see. Damn, I didn't have any time to learn some new moves. Okay, let's stick with what I know. Okay. Fireballs. Okay, that's good. Okay. Giant meteor. Here is true power. Okay, that's good. Giant bat form. Playtime's over. Transform. Okay, I can still do this. Okay. Come on, Dracula. You can do this. Maybe Belmont is off his game, and the same moveset will take him down. Okay. All right. Let me sit down. Let me straighten my hair, and here we go. Die, monster! You don't belong in this world. It was not by my hand that I'm once again given flesh. I was called here by humans who wished to... You know what? Belmont, cut the crap. What are you doing here? Like, come on. I just woke up. Like, I was really looking forward to this day. And then here you are, trying to kill me. And I just woke up like not even 5 minutes ago. Tribute? You steal men's souls. What? And make them your slave. Belmont, I didn't even say the word tribute. What the hell are you talking about? Your words are as empty as your soul. Mankind ill needs a savior, such as you. I know, okay? I know exactly what you're gonna say. Oh, you're not even listening to me, are you? Oh my god.
Me and my kids.
Fine, alright. Let me just get my wine glass real quick. What is a man? A miserable little pile of bullshit. That's what it is. You fucking ass. Enough talk. How about you?
Here is true power.
This reminds me of DBZ Abridged. It's 16 years ago. It's about that time frame.
What's wrong, Belmont? I thought you had my pattern memorized by now. Hydro storm. Hydro storm. Stop it! Stop it, Belmont! You're seriously fucking annoying! Are you seriously gonna spam that same move over and over? Hydro storm! Damn it, Belmont! How many hearts do you have? Really, Belmont? Really, you're gonna be a cheap ass? This is really getting 20 times over! Transform!
Yeah, that would be fun. Oh no, I hit the wrong button.
Hydro storm! Hydro storm! Belmont, you fucking stop that! Oh my god! I'm gonna step on your dumb ass! No! Hydro... I got you, bitch! Who's this bitch? What in the hell is this animal bullshit? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? This is a load of bullshit! I can't even touch you. I can't even touch you, Rick Belmont. This is like not even fair. Like I'm shooting fireballs at you. Let me. Yeah, it doesn't work. Yeah, you know, I quit. I quit. I'm just gonna lay down right here. Go ahead and kill me. What's wrong? I said I quit. You can go ahead and kill me. Oh, I get it. Oh, yeah, Tom Paradox. It has to look convincing because it's Castlevania Symphony of Midnight. Whatever the fuck.
It's amazing what flipping an image back and forth and moving it in different angles does.
Give a damn. Let me pretend I'm actually trying.
Oh, Hydro Storm! This cannot be!
Fucking ass.
Thank you for that little deep.
And he said, tell me, what's it like there? You like having sex with your wife? How often do you and I can go upstairs or tomorrow, come over. There's this girl's coming in from Los Angeles, part of the Hawaiian Tropic kind. You're going to have a great time. I promise you, Michael. You know.
Who do you think would win, Robin or Darkseid? Which Robin? Like, are you talking like Wayne Gracie? Are you talking like Dick Clark? Is that one of them? Travis Scott? Damian Wayne? I don't know. Robin. Whichever one has the nipple suit.
It's just me and you. You're going to have a great time. Be up here at 3 o'clock. We can go upstairs. The whole time, Victoria's been on the phone, listening, setting it up. Because he wants a story. And the wife's on the speakerphone, listening. Donald said, I know I think you're really hot. And I know you think you're a guy. Michael is like the end of the world, the best guy on earth. He's going to be married to him. You're wrong. He does nasty things to his best friends' wives. Anyone who he first tries to gain your trust and then uses it to do bad things.
It should go without saying that Trump has always denied these claims and that there are questions regarding the credibility of Michael Wolff, but it's also important to note that this isn't Wolff speaking. These are Jeffrey Epstein's own words. And I do think it's interesting that we have both Epstein brothers discussing the sexual habits of the president on tape. Like Mark said, you wouldn't know that kind of stuff if you didn't know the man pretty well, which is all in addition to another woman
If none of this was true, why isn't Trump suing more people about it?
who recently attested to their close kinship as well. A former Sports Illustrated model and ex-girlfriend of Jeffrey's by the name of Stacey Williams.
The only friend that he would mention every time we saw each other or had a phone conversation
Although
was
now I feel like it would give the game up if he starts suing people.
Donald. They were very close and they were up to no good.
Williams met the future president through Epstein at a 1992 Christmas party. The same year, in fact, that this infamous clip was taken by NBC. If it weren't already clear enough from the footage of them laughing and pointing at scantily clad cheerleaders at Mar-a-Lago, with Trump seeming to tell the pedophile that one of the girls was really hot, Williams told The Guardian that it was very clear he and Donald were really good friends and spent a lot of time together. Not long ago, she recounted a time in 1993 when she and Epstein were walking around New York, and to prove what such great friends they were, Epstein decided to take her up to Trump's office and barge in unannounced. What Stacey didn't expect was for the business mogul to greet her by forcibly pulling her towards him and pressing her body against his. She alleges that Trump began groping her, rubbing his hands all over her breasts and rear in full view of Jeffrey, the two men carrying on a conversation as if nothing was happening, as if it were some twisted game, she said.
They were back and forth, smiling and grinning and carrying on a conversation while Donald ran his hands all over me. And you know, when that happens in broad daylight in someone's office and an assistant's walking back and forth, you're in shock.
Epstein made no effort to put a stop to it, of course, and later berated Stacey for not doing anything to fight him off. She says she was confused and froze up while it was happening, and that once they left, Epstein didn't look at me or speak to me, and I felt this seething rage around me. And when we got down to the sidewalk, he looked at me and just berated me and said, "Why did you let him do that?" He made me feel so disgusting, and I remember being so utterly confused, she continued. I felt shame and disgust, and as we went our separate ways, I felt this sensation of revisiting it while the hands were all over me, and I had this horrible pit in my stomach that it was somehow orchestrated. I felt like a piece of meat, she told The Guardian. To reinforce her claim, Stacey provided this handwritten postcard the then real estate developer sent her later that year, reading, "Stacey, you're home away from home. Love, Donald." The card featured a photo of Mar-a-Lago printed on the back. Like the additional 25 plus allegations of sexual misconduct that have been brought against him, Trump adamantly denied Stacey's claim and even went so far as to say it was manufactured by Kamala Harris.
Trump denied Williams's allegations through his campaign at the time, which said in part, quote, "It's obvious this fake story was contrived by Kamala Harris's campaign."
It's true that Stacey had divulged details of the alleged assault over a Zoom call as a part of a Harris for Survivors campaign last year, but it's important to note that this wasn't the first time she had gone public with her story, as The Guardian is sure to point out. Stacey also isn't the only woman to say she felt uncomfortable in the presence of both Trump and Epstein.
Well, I already felt kind of intimidated because it was in a dark office and I was alone with my new boss, you know, to be, and this man that's a powerful businessman. And so I felt intimidated.
Maria Farmer is one of the earliest known victims of Jeffrey Epstein. After working for the billionaire as an art collector in her mid-20s, she became the first woman to approach federal authorities with allegations that he and Ghislaine abused both her and her underage sister in the mid-90s, providing the FBI with the names of powerful men associated with Epstein. Names like Les Wexner, who owned the property in Ohio where she had first been assaulted. started. Even beyond Wexner, she listed several prominent men who came around Epstein's properties often. On one occasion, in 1995, Maria was summoned to Epstein's Helmsley Palace offices at around 9 o'clock at night. Maria didn't expect to be called into work so late, but anxious to please her new powerful boss, she did what she was told, even if it meant arriving in running shorts. When she got there, Maria was met with a dark office. None of the lights were on, but she sat in the common area and waited for Epstein to come out and meet her. After a few minutes, a tall, imposing figure emerged from the shadows. It was Donald Trump. Maria recalls how strange it was for the business mogul to be up at the offices so late at night. She says he loomed over her and smirked in a way that made her think he was in on some kind of secret.
He walked up about, a few feet from me and just stood over me in a very imposing way and looked at me like he was in on some secret or something.
Feeling threatened, Maria then noticed Epstein come out of the other side of the office, who turned to Donald and quipped, "No, she's not here for you," before leading him into another room. Laughing on his way out, Maria remembers a disturbing remark Trump made to Epstein. "I thought she was 16.
Epstein walked out and said, "Oh, no, she's not here for you." And he emphasized, "She's not here for you." And he said, "Come with me." And he escorted him into another office, and I was like, who's in there? And when he said, "Oh, I thought she was 16, I thought, is there a 16-year-old in there?
Maria has never accused Trump of any actual criminal behavior, but she has recounted how inappropriate the alleged interaction felt at the time. She recently told CNN that the visit felt so bizarre that she wondered if there was someone else waiting on the other side of the wall to see Donald Trump. Unsurprisingly, Trump has denied ever visiting the offices of Jeffrey Epstein, a claim that incensed Maria Farmer, who slammed the president as a complete liar.
So what do you say when they give a response like this?
Yes. I say that they're being disrespectful to the fact that I have given up my entire life for this case just to have it investigated. And I'm really sorry for him that he's caught, but, I don't know what to say to that. He's lying. I don't appreciate it. He was absolutely at the offices.
Maria also said how she felt the FBI had believed her allegations against Epstein back in 1996, but that they still failed to open an investigation or even follow up with her until 2007, when more accusations had begun cropping up in Palm Beach, Florida. By that point, Maria was receiving death threats from Epstein and Ghislaine, and was forced into hiding for her own safety. For years, the FBI had the chance to stop the ongoing abuse of young girls by simply following up on Maria's tip that involved numerous powerful men worth billions of dollars. And yet, for whatever reason, they did nothing.
The worst part was I named everybody. I named Donald Trump. I named everyone who I thought was a co-conspirator at the time. So I named Alan Dershowitz, Donald Trump, absolutely the Clintons. These are people that I saw coming and going, that I knew were part of it. And I made it really clear that this is a very scary thing for children, and that I see between 5 and 10 girls a day going upstairs. And now that I know what's happening to them, I want it stopped.
Why the Bureau effectively ignored the Farmer allegations for so many years is another one of the many unanswered questions surrounding this whole maddening saga. Maria is now suing the FBI for negligence, hoping that she may finally be able to see the report she filed all those years ago. Though it is worth noting once again that this entire thing could be solved right this very second if we had a president actually invested in releasing everything they had.
He's not.
This past July, Jack O'Donnell, a former Trump Plaza executive, went public with what he remembers seeing at the president's Atlantic City hotel during the late 80s. As O'Donnell recounted...
Pause. Oh! Thank God my phone or my water wasn't up there. Oh my God. I don't know why I did that. That was dumb. I gotta do something really fast. Thank you, Tim. Stream elements. Chatbot. Is it chat commands. How did I do that? How the heck did I set that up? I don't think it's a chat command. Yeah, it's not. Module. Wait. No. No. Oh my god, where is crap. How did I do that? Wait, is that on Oh, it's not through Stream Elements. It's through Discord. Okay. I want to set it up so when Tim goes live, it'll notify everybody that he's. Oh my god, I feel so dumb. I had to edit this. I'm the worst streamer ever. Eddie. Manage. I'm getting there. I hope Tim didn't go live by now. Okay. I can add notification. Which streamer name? Oh crap! Has he been in chat? Yeah, he has been in chat. Did Tim the like Tim underscore the cake? User not found. Shit. Are there no underscores? Is that only you? That's not Tim the Ache. Yeah. I think that's right. Nah, we'll find out. Alright, where were we? Nope, that's the wrong video.
The pair visited the casino together frequently, and that in my mind, Epstein was his best friend, you know, throughout the time I was there for 4 years. On one of those nights, O'Donnell claimed that Epstein and Trump were reprimanded for bringing 3 girls under the age of 21 onto the casino floor. O'Donnell remembers casino commission inspectors grilling him the next morning in his office, and that the reason they knew they were below gambling age was because one of the—
When I tell you here in Jersey that no one is ever really inspecting places, I mean it, especially in like the 90s. So the fact that like the casino board was there really should be a red flag for you. Because like, I mean, no one goes out to places here in Jersey, like ever. Everything's illegal, but no one checks on it.
Inspectors recognized one of the girls as the number 3 ranked tennis player in the world. This inspector happened to be a tennis fan, and he said, "Jack, I know she's 19 years old." They had determined that the women they brought down there were underage to be in the casino. Per New Jersey state law, O'Donnell was required to alert Trump and let him know that these types of indiscretions could not be tolerated going forward. I had to call him and say, "They're giving you a break this time, but if this happens again, the fine is going to be substantial and it's going to be on your head," O'Donnell recalled to CNN. "I did tell him in that conversation, I don't think you should be hanging out with this guy, just so you know. And you certainly shouldn't be doing that in Atlantic City." I guess Trump didn't heed O'Donnell's advice though, since he continued to party with Epstein for years. The White House responded to Jack O'Donnell's claims with the usual grace and tact that I think we've all come to expect from this administration. "Jack O'Donnell is a stone-cold loser who is a liar and a fraud. This is a completely fabricated story from his warped imagination as he suffers from Trump derangement syndrome that has rotted his pea-sized brain." Alright, well, I'm convinced. This sort of carefully worded and incredibly persuasive sentiment embodies a common approach we see from the Trump camp. Stephen Chung, the same White House director who issued the statement, was also the one who pushed the talking point that Trump had severed all ties with Epstein after the latter had tried to flirt with the daughter of a wealthy Mar-a-Lago guest. According to Chung, the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep, and that was the end of it, I guess. Never mind the rival narrative that has Trump and Epstein falling out over a bidding war for a beachfront property both men wanted in Florida, just weeks before the Palm Beach PD received an anonymous tip about a billionaire running an underage sex ring out of his home. That series of events became public knowledge after a 2019 Washington Post article documenting their 2004 breakup and citing a number of sources involved in the property sale. It also quotes prominent Trump ally Roger Stone, who, in a bizarre attempt to defend his pal, I think, said that Trump once told him, "The one time I visited Epstein's Palm Beach home, the swimming pool was full of beautiful young girls. How nice," I thought. "He let the neighborhood kids use his pool." That's what Trump said to Roger Stone, according to Stone. Again, someone who likes Donald Trump and was trying to do him a favor. Great job, man. But now there's a new third theory as to why the two men went their separate ways, and it completely flies in the face of what Chung had initially said. Donald Trump, who isn't exactly the sharp, vibrant beacon of mental wellness he may have used to be, recently conflicted his own—
Oh my god, him eating that spaghetti! The prince's face, or I guess the King Charles's face.
the sharp, vibrant beacon of mental—
Oh my god, look at this. Oh my god. What is that spaghetti look? This should not be as funny as it is.
mental wellness he may have used to be, recently conflicted his own White House by telling reporters that Epstein had stolen prominent Epstein accuser and former Mar-a-Lago spa attendant Virginia Giuffre from him as an employee.
I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago, and people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone.
Does that include Virginia Giuffre?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was...
He's got to have some form of Alzheimer's setting in because he just keeps forgetting his own lies.
was one of the people, yeah. He stole her.
For some reason, none of the seasoned reporters in that room felt the urge to ask what Trump believed Virginia to be doing as an employee of Epstein. I feel like that's something that should be asked. The mysterious financier's official job description was never the most well-defined, so naturally one has to wonder what a 16-year-old Mar-a-Lago spa attendant could possibly be doing for Jeffrey Epstein on paper besides giving him massages? Why would Trump be okay with that? Assuming he knew his own employee was a teenager, why didn't he do something back then? He just thought it was totally chill and cool for a 16-year-old to get scooped up by this crusty middle-aged billionaire? It makes no sense. For years, Virginia spoke openly about being recruited at Trump's property by Ghislaine Maxwell, and subsequently being trafficked to wealthy businessmen and powerful politicians, made to have sex with numerous men, including Prince Andrew. Though at the end of this round of questions, Trump made sure to throw in that Virginia had no complaints about us.
And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know.
But what's also notable is that according to the 2020 book, The Grifters Club, Jeffrey was still a member of Mar-a-Lago as late as 2007, 7 whole years after he recruited Virginia, and 3 years after their last known correspondence, which the Washington Post reports was the bidding war. A New York Post article from that year even had Epstein himself claiming that he had not been banned and that he had in fact recently been invited to an event at Trump's club. So if that's true, then that would have put Epstein at Mar-a-Lago a year after the Palm Beach Post had publicly reported the allegations against him. Unfortunately, Virginia is no longer able to respond herself, as she tragically took her own life following a violent car accident.
I used to be subscribed to the Lego Club magazine when I was a kid. I think they're doing that again. I heard tell that they're doing it again.
In this past April. Her family, however, has expressed shock at the president's use of the word stolen in relation to her being roped into a sex trafficking ring against her will as a teenager, one where she experienced regular abuse from Epstein, Ghislaine, and countless powerful friends for many years. It was shocking to hear President Trump invoke our sister and say that he was aware that Virginia had been stolen from Mar-a-Lago. They've recently stated, "We and the public are asking for answers. Survivors deserve this." What's amazing is that even after these callous remarks, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt still deferred back to Stephen Chung's original line of defense, the line of defense that has now been discredited by Trump. Make no mistake, these people think you're fucking stupid. But the more inconsistencies there are, the more speculation will run rampant. Accusations of guilt will continue to pile up so long as the full files are not released, and critics of the president will no doubt continue to look even further into his years-long relationship with Epstein and all of the allegations that come with it.
And breaking news involving a woman who claims Donald Trump raped her when she was 13.
KCAL 9's Peter Dowd is live in Woodland Hills now, where the woman was set to go public less than an hour ago. Peter.
I've mentioned before that Miami Herald journalist Julie K. Brown played a defining role in pushing the federal government to indict Jeffrey Epstein a second time on sex trafficking charges in 2019. Her series of articles published during the latter half of the 2010s was instrumental in reigniting public interest of the story. But what isn't often discussed is the key reason as to why she decided to re-examine the case in the first place. It had to do with Trump's 2016 bid for president. As she stated quite plainly on Twitter back in July, "The reason I took up the case is because a woman filed a lawsuit against Mr. Trump alleging he raped her while she was a teenager."
Here's the thing, these kind of men that do these kinds of crime prey on women that are, sometimes they're very vulnerable, they're very messed up mentally. They have a lot of problems. Katie Johnson was one of those people that really had a history of problems. I think they easily intimidated her. Whether her story is true or false, I don't think we'll ever know.
In her version of justice, Brown described the lawsuit brought against the future president long before anyone knew the name Jeffrey Epstein. In early 2016, a woman going by the name of Katie Johnson, an alias, filed a civil complaint in federal court in California where she outlined a 4-month period in 1994 where she says she was sexually abused and raped by both Trump and Epstein at the age of just 13. She alleged that she had been invited to underage sex parties at Epstein's Manhattan residence where she came into contact with the then business magnate. Drawn in by prospects of a modeling career, not unlike many other Epstein victims, Katie claims she was forced to have sex with Trump several times, including once with another girl, 12 years old, whom she labeled Maria Doe. The suit also alleges Epstein was furious when he found out Trump had taken Katie's virginity, that he attempted to strike her in the head with his fists, and that both men threatened to harm her and her family if she ever said anything. Brown writes that Johnson was seeking $100 million in damages from the then frontrunner of the GOP primary. While the story hardly received any coverage at the time the lawsuit was filed, a Trump spokesperson did vehemently deny the claims to the Miami Herald. Perhaps as a result of Katie filing the suit on her own behalf, it turned out that she had failed to file it under the correct statute, Brown points out, and therefore the case was promptly dismissed. There was also no evidence that she lived at the residence she listed in the suit. Things went quiet until Katie refiled her suit in the correct district that September, after Trump had already won the nomination and was in the midst of
Lou, I need your help. I'm trying to remember something. Is the name of the original company that started Fallout Black Isle Studios? Is that who that is? That eventually became Obsidian?
facing off in the general against Hillary Clinton. This new lawsuit, Brown reports, listed both Trump and Epstein as defendants. This time, Katie used the pseudonym Jane Doe for extra protection, but it wasn't long before spectators deduced that this was the same woman who had filed the earlier suit in California. The lawsuit states that Katie had traveled to New York by bus to pursue a modeling career, and that after being told by several agencies that she needed the portfolio, she decided to go home. She bought a bus ticket at the Port Authority, but supposedly came into contact there with a woman named Tiffany, who promised to help her get into modeling if she would go with her to a few parties that were hosted at Epstein's mansion. Attending at least 4 of these parties, Katie claims she saw a number of younger girls mingling with much older guests, one of which, she says, was Trump. The affidavit included the same violent details of the alleged assault as the previous suit. Brown also cites an alleged interview with Katie. Her face blurred out. It was posted to YouTube in the build-up to the election in November 2016. You can actually still find it on YouTube right now if you'd like to watch for yourself. I've made sure to include the link down below, along with a link to the lawsuit. Wearing a blonde wig to further obscure her identity, Katie once again describes meeting a Tiffany who worked for Epstein in 1994. To quote Brown, a woman named Tiffany Doe filed an affidavit with the lawsuit in which she said that when she was 22 years old, she was hired by Epstein as a party planner. She said she was instructed to hire adolescent girls to attend parties, most of which were held at 9 East 71st Street, which was Epstein's massive townhouse, then owned by billionaire Leslie Wexner. Among the places Tiffany looked for girls was the Port Authority bus terminal. She recalled recruiting Johnson, Jane Doe, and luring her to attend several parties, where she personally witnessed Johnson being forced to perform sex acts with Trump and Epstein. After leaving the employment of Mr. Epstein in 2000, I was personally threatened by Mr. Epstein that I would be killed and my family killed as well if I ever disclosed any of the physical and sexual abuse of minor females that I had personally witnessed by Mr. Epstein or any of his guests, she said in the affidavit. Another interesting detail that Brown brings up here is that a third girl, identified as Joan Doe, also filed a declaration stating that in the 1994 to 1995 school year, Katie Johnson had told her about the abuse that she had allegedly endured from Trump and Epstein, which means that in the year 2016, there were 3 separate women willing to co-sign these allegations in a court of law. The reason you probably haven't heard much about this story, though, is because Katie received enormous amounts of backlash and death threats in the lead up to a press conference in which she was slated to finally reveal her true identity to the world. Just as reporters were crowding into a packed hotel lobby to hear her speak for the first time, her lawyer, Lisa Bloom, known for representing several other Epstein survivors and for being the daughter of civil rights attorney Gloria Allred, made the following announcement to the cameras. "I have bad news," she said. "Jane Doe has received numerous threats today, as have all Trump accusers I have represented. She is living in fear. We are going to have to reschedule." Despite the fact that Katie had reportedly been in Bloom's office all day, getting ready to go public and rehearsing for the event, the press conference was never rescheduled. Instead, Katie abruptly dropped the case the following day and told Bloom that she never wanted to speak about the matter again. To this day, Bloom still believes Katie's story to be credible. Describing Katie as a frightened young woman to CNN, Bloom stated, "I make my own determination if someone is credible, and I thought she was, and that the media should be reporting on it." Brown also writes of a taped CNN interview with Katie that inexplicably never saw the light of day either. As of 2025, Katie Johnson is nowhere to be found. It's impossible to definitively say how legitimate these allegations were. A 2016 investigation by The Guardian found that a publicist going by the name Al Taylor had attempted to sell a tape of Katie discussing the allegations for $1 million. The Guardian discovered that Al Taylor appeared to actually be a front, an alias for a man named Norm Lubow, who once worked as a producer on The Jerry Springer Show. It should be said that Lubow is an extremely questionable individual who once pushed the baseless theory that Kurt Cobain was killed by Courtney Love. The Guardian also cites a New York Post article which ties Lubow to a tabloid story that O.J. Simpson had bought illicit drugs on the day he murdered Nicole. When The Guardian confronted Al Taylor on the true nature of his identity, the publicist shot back with a threat. "Be warned, we'll sue you if we don't like what you write. We'll sue your ass, and own your newspaper's ass as well, punk." And we really do need to take all of this into consideration when looking at the Katie Johnson story. It is possible it could have been a complete smear all along, a sham lawsuit as Trump and his lawyers argued. Julie K. Brown points out that while there were obvious political motives for Johnson to go public, that nevertheless doesn't mean that she was lying. Perhaps it meant that she had fallen prey to people who wanted to use her story for political gain. While Lubow's reported involvement would raise real questions of credibility, it is still possible that Katie's real trauma had been exploited by nefarious parties who wanted to cash in on the inevitable sensationalism such an outrageous story would generate. It's possible the mounting threats on her life really did make her back out from sharing her truth with the world. But with no evidence, no lawsuit, and no public victims, we may never know for certain whether these allegations were as bogus as Trump claimed they were, or if our president is hiding some truly unconscionable skeletons in his closet. his closet. What we do have, however, is more than enough reason to bring into question the judgment of powerful figures like Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, men who were seemingly okay socializing with someone known to surround himself with very young-looking girls. In the midst of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial in 2021, one anonymous plaintiff took the stand to testify under oath that she met Donald Trump through Jeffrey Epstein when she was just 14 years old. Like Maria Farmer, she doesn't accuse Trump of anything criminal, but confirmed that she did participate in a Miss Teen USA beauty pageant associated with him in 1998. Which brings us to another disturbing chapter in the Epstein saga, one that entails a bygone era of glitz, glamour, and the rise of a central figure in our story.
What is it?
Ever since the late 60s, when he first burst onto the scene, and into the early 70s, when he officially took over the reins of his father's company, Donald John Trump has been predominantly concerned with maintaining and projecting a high social status. Beneath his renegade, faux populist persona lurks an intrinsic desire to be accepted by the upper echelons of society, one that appears to play a role in all of his biggest life decisions.
Donald Trump is here tonight.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House.
This fixation helps explain the
He looks so bitter.
long transactional relationship he's had with the media. Why he'd call up gossip columnists under a pseudonym, brag about his sexual conquests to shock jocks, and obsessively monitor press coverage to ensure he was always portrayed as a winner. It was once reported that he would have physical copies of Page 6 tabloids hand-delivered to his office right after they came out. It also drove him to cash in on the social capital earned from lucrative properties like Trump Tower, Mar-a-Lago, and Atlantic City, leveraging such prizes to cement his place in an era of endless tax breaks and non-existent regulations that embodied the raucous world of 1980s real estate. As the very public face of his ever-growing brand, Trump knew that in order to get to the top, he needed to schmooze, work the room, which is why he made tremendous attempts to dazzle entertainers, businessmen, and politicians at every opportunity. In the 80s and 90s, Trump worked hard to court the nation's elite by throwing lavish parties drenched in booze, drugs, and young women. Very young women.
But Donald, do you worry because you have a daughter who's a model?
I do, and I have a deal with her. She's just 17, and she's doing great, Ivanka, and she made me promise or swear to her that I would never date a girl younger than her. So, as she grows, Howard, as she grows older, the field is getting very limited severely.
In 2016, several alleged Trump party guests reported what they saw to journalist Michael Gross. Author of the 1995 book Model, The Ugly Business of Beautiful Women, Gross is certainly someone who understands the dark underbelly of the modeling industry, or its legalized flesh peddling, as he calls it. As written in the Daily Beast, Gross heard from several sources that described Trump's presence and behavior at events where illegal drugs and young women were passed around and used. As Gross had reported previously, Trump's parties were spaces where young women were free to meet and mingle with older men. One anonymous photographer who attended these events confirmed Gross's reporting, stating the idea was that you'll meet rich guys who will help you. It was networking, but on a weird, bizarre scale. As he claimed, some of the girls in attendance were as young as 15 years old. Teenagers who were over their heads. They had no idea, and they ended up in situations, he told Gross. There were always dramas because the men threw money and drugs at them to keep them enticed. It's based on power and dominating girls who can't push back and can be discarded. There's always someone to pick them back up. Nobody wants to call home and say, "Help me." According to this source, as older men huffed cocaine and had sex with younger women, Trump would lurk from room to room, telling Gross he'd wander off with a couple girls. I saw him. He was getting laid like crazy. Trump was at the heart of it. He loved the attention, and in private, he was a total fucking beast. I was there to party myself, he added. It was guys with younger girls, sex, a lot of cocaine.
I drink,
top shelf
and I know
women,
things.
apparently
The
smoking
_prodigy
cigarettes was where
_B would
Trump
like you to
drew
drink something.
Thank you.
the line. This photographer wasn't the only partygoer to comment on a culture of rampant drugs and sex. A male model by the name of Andy Lachesi was happy to speak with Gross on the record. Andy concurred that there was cocaine around, but pushed back on the notion that Trump partook in any drug use himself. He's in control of himself, he stated plainly, but when the conversation shifted over to girls, Andy became a little less candid, prefacing with, "I like Donald, I respect the guy, I don't want to get him in trouble," before saying we should focus on Epstein and Clinton's relationship.
I just got a fresh cup. Gotta stay hydrated. Yeah, 100%.
And he clarified that he wasn't comparing Trump's parties to Epstein's debauchery, but his answers did get a little strange from there. When asked if Trump had sex with any of his party guests, Andy told Gross vaguely, he's a man with a woman. When asked how old the girls in attendance were, Andy stated bluntly that a lot of girls, 14, look 24. That's as juicy as I can get. I never asked how old they were. I just partook, even though by his own admission he was the one bringing some of these girls to the parties. I did partake in activities that would be controversial too, he stated cryptically. I had so much fun, he told Gross. My body's paying for it now. I don't want to even know what that's supposed to mean. Gross also recalls a similar statement made to him over 2 decades prior when he interviewed Donald Trump. Fondly recalling his days as a rich bachelor in Manhattan, Trump reminisced on consequence-free sex as his second business. If I hadn't gotten married, he told the reporter, who knows what would have happened? You had drugs, women, and booze all over the fucking place. Looking back on his days at Le Club, an exclusive members-only nightclub in the heart of New York City, Trump explained, it was fucking wild. The most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life were at Le Club. I had seen some incredible women going into Le Club with rich guys, and I said, boy, that's a cool life. Donald Trump desperately wanted that life, and as one of New York City's most infamous self-styled playboys, it was only natural for him to eventually fall into the dark orbit of John Casablancas. If Casablancas sounds familiar to you, it's probably because you've heard the name Julian Casablancas, a rock artist best known as the lead singer of The Strokes. What you might not know is that Julian's late father, John, basically made the supermodeling industry what it is today. After founding Elite Model Management in 1972, John Casablancas would center.
So, some of you might not know this, but Elite Model Management is also the same company that employed Tyra Banks, and that Tyra Banks sent, I believe sent even some of the models who won America's Next Top Model to Elite, if I remember correctly.
The fantasy of a fashion model out of his own desires, as written in his obituary published by The Guardian. By the time cancer took his life in 2013, John had spent much of his 70 years on Earth building an empire of models, playing a key role in the careers of Naomi Campbell, Gisele Bündchen, Heidi Klum, and countless others. As a cutthroat businessman unafraid of poaching clients from rival agencies, Casablancas quickly forged a reputation for himself as a formidable operator, but he also had another reputation. While many of the formal accusations of sexual misconduct weren't leveled against him until after his death, Casablancas did make headlines quite a few times when he was alive.
This looks like Mila Jovovich down here. Could be wrong though. I know she was a model before she actress.
Live for his unabashed sexual attraction to underage girls, or as he called them, child women. In 1983, his marriage with Julian's mother, Jeanette Christensen, fell apart as a result of a very public affair he had with one of his models, Stephanie Seymour, who just so happened to be 16 years old at the time. Casablancas was in his 40s. Here's how he described the teenage Stephanie to New
I believe that's Tyra Banks up here.
York Magazine. She's a girl of extremes, and the way she developed, there's a quality that developed about her that is this incredible sensuality that a woman child has. A true woman child. Her voice is a child's. Her attitudes, the way she holds her feet and her hands are those of a child, at the same time with an incredible sensuality to it. And that mixture was and is so explosive. This was something like a forbidden fruit for both of us. As the cut points out, Casablancas remained at the helm of elite modeling for the next several decades, only stepping aside after a BBC expose revealed the drug use and worker exploitation that had run rampant under his watch. By the time he settled down in Brazil for retirement in 2000, Casablancas had already moved on to his next wife, a 17-year-old. He turned 58 that year. According to a 2004 article in the New York Times, Casablancas also happened to sit on the board of Trump Reality Brazil, meaning Donald Trump was still totally cool with his model manager buddy even after Casablancas had already gone out and married 2 of his underage models. But how exactly did these two come to meet? Well, the timeline isn't exactly clear, but we know Trump has been spotted with Casablancas as early as 1982. A regular fixture at elite modeling parties, a younger Trump could be found lurking around the bar, mingling with young models, which I think is a little weird when you consider Trump's famous straight-edge reputation. As one former elite model, Patty Owen,
I bet he was probably sober and just drinking water while everyone else was drinking around him. That's if we are to believe the one guy that was like, no, he wasn't doing drugs, which I don't think Trump would do drugs. He believes in like the human battery, and that every human has a finite amount of energy and everything you do takes away from that battery, and that certain things take more away than others. So he's like very straight edge. So I could see him sitting there drinking like a Coke, or like a Diet Coke. Yeah, a Diet Coke. He loves Diet Coke. While everybody else around him was getting drunk and high and stuff. That's a big power play.
recalled in 2020, whenever I saw him, I was always like, why does John have to invite him? Another model, Barbara Pilling, remembers a time in 1989 that the future president tried to hit on her. He asked her how old she was. I said 17, and he said, that's just great. You're not too old, not too young. See, John Casablancas had been overseeing Elite Management's annual Look of the Year competition since 1983, in which aspiring models competed.
I believe that's Naomi Campbell. I could be wrong though.
For a $150,000 contract with the world's most prestigious modeling empire. The contest has been credited with turning Cindy Crawford, Helena Christensen, and Stephanie Seymour into megastars. Naturally, this was a huge opportunity for girls everywhere who flocked from all over the globe for a chance to make connections, get noticed, and get signed. Some brought along their chaperones, while others traveled solo, but all wanted to make a strong impression on the much older, predominantly male panel of judges, powerful industry leaders who had the capacity to make all of their dreams come true or send them back home. Which is why on September 1st, 1991, 58 girls boarded the Spirit of New York, a party yacht with big goals of creating a new life for themselves. Donning miniskirts and partying under disco lights, some of these girls were as young as 14, and they weren't alone. They were being judged by much older men old enough to be their parents and grandparents. One of those men was Donald Trump.
From magical New York City, glamorous Plaza Hotel, Elite Model Management presents the 1991 Look of the Year contest.
The Look of the Year contest is the ultimate contest for women that want to go all the way in the modeling business.
The 45-year-old Trump was the headline sponsor of the 1991 Look of the Year competition. Being closely involved with the event, he even designated his own Trump Plaza Hotel as the main venue where the young girls would compete. That's according to a big expose by The Guardian ahead of the 2020 election. And if you're wondering why you haven't heard any of this, well, that's probably because this article was published March 14th, 2020, a time in which there was some other stuff going on in the news, if you recall. The Guardian described this particular yacht party as what could have been a high school prom, were it not for the crowd of older men surrounding the girls. As the evening wore on, some of the men joined them on the dance floor, pressing themselves against the girls. One balding man in a suit wrapped his arms around two young models, leering into a film camera that was documenting the evening. "Can you get some more beautiful women around me, please?" In addition to uncovering 12 hours of never-before-seen footage, The Guardian spoke to a number of people involved in the event. Dozens of industry insiders and former contestants like Shauna Lee, a young girl who traveled down from a small town in Canada to compete in the 1992 contest when she was just 14 years old. Similar to 1991, this contest was once again hosted by Trump.
Best-known personalities in the city of New York and probably in the United States. And our host here at the Plaza, since he owns the place, the president of the Trump Organization, Mr. Donald Trump.
He like slurred. It sounded like he slurred his way through that.
It was also the year a girl named Melania came in second place in Slovenia, narrowly missing out on the trip to New York per The Guardian. As a result, she wouldn't meet her soon-to-be husband for another 7 years. Shauna remembers the girls being escorted downstairs one at a time to be judged by a panel that included Casablancas, Trump, and others, even though she didn't completely understand why it was necessary. A woman at the agency was pushing me, she recalled. I said to her, "I don't see why me going down the stairs and dancing in front of those two has anything to do with me becoming a model." And she said, "No, you look great. Take off your blazer and go and do it." So I walked down the stairs. I didn't dance. I blew a kiss at them, spun around, and walked away. Another girl who told The Guardian she'd be excluded from the competition if she didn't go downstairs to perform for Trump and Casablancas remembers how uneasy she felt at the prospect of entertaining such older men in such a closed-off environment. "I knew in my gut it wasn't right," she stated. This wasn't being judged or part of the competition, it was for their entertainment. This girl, who asked not to be publicly identified, was just 15 at the time. As it turns out, many of the girls The Guardian spoke with recall feeling obligated to attend business dinners with Trump and Casablancas. Take Shayna Love, for instance, who told the publication that a dinner invitation wasn't really an invitation at all. It was presented as our duty as models at the agency, she said. It was like, you have to go and do this. I was at one end of the table with John, and Trump was at the other end, surrounded by the other girls. While we don't know the ages of every girl in attendance that night, we know that Shauna was just...
I just met the worst Spider-Man character ever, and possibly the worst character in any form of media. Jar Jar Binks exists, though.
16 years old. What's even more shocking is that a 1992 Fox documentary of the event
Screwball? I've never heard of them.
And notes that the average age of the contestants that year was 15. The average age.
Tonight we're going to meet the 64 finalists. Their average age is 15, and they
despise Screwball.
Came from big cities and small towns all over the world for this chance of a lifetime.
These were mostly teenage girls who were made to parade around in their swimsuits in front of much older men, and if they failed to comply...
He has the worst challenge missions in the game. Oh, when you play a game and you have a character that gives you absolute garbage quests, they are the worst character. Preston Garvey, first one that comes to mind, hands down. I wanted to like Preston so bad, but I did not need to go to another settlement. I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. And then when you travel with him, oh God, when you travel with him, it's so much worse. You have to put him in like his own like separate settlement, or send him out to go do like the supply lines, the caravan lines between the different settlements.
Well, they could kiss that 6-figure contract goodbye.
Don't try to act. Don't try to do too much. Just try to be yourselves. Look at the jury.
This reminds me of like America's Next Top Model. Like, it's very much giving me America's Next Top Model vibes.
Stand up straight because they are going to be looking at your figure. Don't try to give smart-ass answers. Don't try not to say anything. Just be natural.
Thank you very much,
The concentration was intense inside the judging room.
They don't like you as you are.
And out.
I'm just so excited.
Each girl was considered not only for her beauty and poise, but also for her personality and that indefinable
something extra that makes a top model.
One girl by the name of Stacy Wilkes, who had been brought up in rural Kentucky and had never seen New York City before, remembers being viewed by a panel of judges, which in 1991 it consisted of Trump, Casablancas, magician David Copperfield, and a man named Gerald Murray.
David Copperfield. That's the second time. Okay, so David Copperfield, I think, was in the records for Jeffrey Epstein. I think they were friends too. Oh my God, there's so much. I need like a cork board.
The president of Elite's European division. 30 years after the fact, Stacy still remembers feeling so uncomfortable standing there in my bathing suit. When one of the judges made a comment about her weight, Stacy told The Guardian it felt like they were ganging up on her. We also shouldn't ignore the fact that, like Stacy, a lot of these girls came from very poor backgrounds. They saw this competition as their one-way ticket out of poverty, according to former contestant Kate Dillon, who was just 17 at the time of her participation. Kate told The Guardian a lot of these girls were desperate, before adding it was very clear that there were opportunities to go out and party with Donald. If you were nice to certain people, good things happen to you. And I think that's why girls were going out. In one behind-the-scenes clip reviewed by The Guardian, Trump can be seen mingling with the contestants, one of whom tells him that she's just finishing school. As Stacy remembers, every time we changed, it was like Trump would find a reason to come backstage. Another former model from Canada seemed to level similar charges against the future president. He'd come by and say, "Hey girls, are we ready?" I remember thinking, what have I gotten myself into? Some recall underage girls being served alcohol at the events, and one reporter, who was tasked with documenting the contest, remembers what he saw at the sordid after parties that went on when the girls weren't modeling. I saw girls sitting on guys' laps, and I remember thinking they were younger than me, and I was 17 going on 18. Though The Guardian makes sure to note that Trump is denied in the strongest terms ever providing alcohol to the models. In the footage they reviewed, one man can be heard towards the end of the contest, off camera, telling the girls, "Come on babes, let's get some liquor in you." Despite this deplorable environment,
Gross.
Donald Trump
So
went on to
gross.
sign his own daughter Ivanka to elite management in 1997 when Ivanka was just 15, a move that Trump was only modestly in favor of, apparently, on account of him understanding that this was a very fast life, and at that age, it's always a risk.
It's so, knowing all this stuff and then seeing like pictures of her sitting on his lap, like that just grosses me out so much.
Understanding that this was a very fast life, and at that age, it's always a risky proposition. And knowing what we know about elite management, I would have to agree, it is a risky proposition. The Guardian goes on to list some of the various accusations of sexual misconduct and rape that have been leveled against Gerald Murray, David Copperfield, and John Casablancas. They even cite a 25-year-old article from New York Magazine that claims 2 female executives within the company had begged John and Gerald to quit sleeping with models, to which Gerald reportedly replied, "We are men, we have our needs." The allegations against Casablancas in particular are extensive, with one of the major lawsuits accusing him of raping a 15-year-old model repeatedly at Look of the Year Japan in 1988. When the girl later became pregnant, the suit alleged that Casablancas had arranged and paid for an abortion through elite management. It stated, quite plainly that Casablancas engaged in a pattern of seducing, sexually exploiting, and/or abusing minor girls, including girls as young as 14 to 15 years old. Another lawsuit, filed 3 months before the Guardian article was published, recounts one particularly revolting encounter. In 1990, Casablancas reportedly sent one 15-year-old model to meet a photographer friend of his at a home located in New York's Upper East Side. Except there was no photographer. Casablancas had sent her to be abused by Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was no stranger to the modeling world. Elizabeth Tai told the New York Post that she was under the impression she was interviewing a Victoria's Secret consultant when she visited Epstein in 2004. As the Miami Herald recounted in 2019, she was alarmed when Epstein suddenly stripped naked and handed her a vibrator. She threw it at his head and ran for the exit. As she made her way through the massive home, she remembers being confronted by a woman she believed to be Ghislaine Maxwell, who shouted after her, "You can't leave. Mr. Epstein is friends with Bill Clinton." That same Miami Herald piece also mentions MC2, the boutique modeling agency Jeffrey Epstein formed with fellow sex trafficker Jean-Luc Brunel, a French modeling scout who had previously managed Karen Models
too.
Jean-Luc Brunel, a French
I'm just trying to see if I recognize.
modeling scout who had previously managed Karen Models, which Epstein helped finance. Brunel was in fact so notorious that even John Casablancas criticized him for the way he's cheapened the business. Brunel, for his part, has never really denied these habits, telling Gross, "You get laid tonight with a model. Is that a crime? I'm no saint." Brunel has also been reported to have provided girls for Epstein, like the time he allegedly flew out 12-year-old triplets from France to be abused by the financier as a birthday present, according to Virginia Giuffre. When Epstein set out to create MC2 with Brunel, the Herald reports, he explicitly wanted it to be just like Donald Trump's modeling agency, T Models, which the future president had formed in 1999. In fact, there's even a quote from Leonardo DiCaprio in 1998, where he thanked Trump for creating a one-stop date shop. Wow, what a concept! Despite Trump's modeling agency declaring it had risen to the top of the fashion market and it symbolized success on its website, the former models themselves paint a completely different picture. For one thing, according to this Mother Jones article, a number of the girls were from out of the country, working in America without proper work visas, which the agency rarely ever provided for them. As a result, there was a constant fear of getting caught by the government, and many of the girls were straight up told by the agency to lie to customs officials and just say they were here for meetings. Rachel Blaze, who began modeling for Trump's agency at the age of 16, told Mother Jones that they're the most crooked agency I've ever worked for, and I've worked for quite a few. Continuing, the majority of the models who are young have never been to New York City and don't have papers. Speaking from her own experience, I was just put in Trump's model's apartment. According to the girls interviewed by Mother Jones, Trump had designated dormitory-style quarters to house his models, which one girl likened to a sweatshop. They reportedly recruited girls as young as 14, and as one former model put it, "I was by far the oldest in the house at the ripe old age of 18. It's almost as if the agency signed girls they knew would be the most vulnerable, and therefore easy to exploit. As one girl by the name of Anna told Mother Jones, "You earn your visa, essentially, if you got enough work, and they liked you enough. They'd pay for a visa, but you weren't about to see a dime before you could prove your worth." With another girl going so far as to compare it to modern-day slavery, which, by the way, she wasn't the only girl to compare Trump's modeling agency to slavery, I should add. Trump also had a tendency to sign girls who participated in Miss Universe and Miss USA, both of which he owned in addition to Miss Teen Universe, thanks to a $10 million deal he negotiated in 1996. According to The Guardian, he had also begun to poach staff from Elite shortly after establishing T Models. According to what one Australian modeling agent, Wolfgang Schwarz, told the publication, Trump established his own agency because he wanted his own private source for models. If you have your own agency and you're the owner, you can tell your bookers to make a party. It's easier than calling 15 agencies in New York. From there, the article points out Trump was able to turn Miss Universe into a televised event, selling a 50% stake in the company to CBS in 1997, before then brokering an even more lucrative deal with NBC, which launched The Apprentice in 2004. You know how the rest of this story goes. What Donald Trump, Jean-Luc Brunel, and John Casablancas all have in common is their affliction for young models and their once very close association with Jeffrey Epstein, a man who used his place in the modeling industry to satisfy his criminal desires. All four men ran predatory modeling agencies. All four were accused of sexual assault. 3 of them are dead. 2 died in prison. 1 is now the most powerful man on Earth.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
Thank you, Director Patel, for being here today.
Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax.
Are there any photos showing Donald Trump with girls of an uncertain age?
No.
How do you know that?
If they had anything, I assume they would have released it.
That information would have been brought to light by multiple administrations and FBI investigators over the course of the last 20 years.
Well, you know what? That's just not true, because no one knew about the creepy birthday message that Donald Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein until the Wall Street Journal disclosed it, and then all of a sudden, the Epstein estate provides it to Congress.
Well,
so certainly, maybe someone has it. Maybe the Epstein estate has it.
You raise a great point. The estate of Jeffrey Epstein has a voluminous amount of information that they have not released before.
You're the frickin' FBI. You can subpoena the information from the estate, and you better do that.
My poll numbers have gone up 4.5 points because people don't buy it, and he's gone.
On September 3rd, a group of Epstein survivors convened in Washington, D.C. for a live press conference demanding more accountability from their government. At the very least, they want answers as to how this man was able to evade legal punishment for the vast majority of his life. And they also seek a full release of the 100,000 plus documents the FBI continues to shield from the public.
I was minor victim 1 in federal indictment of Jeffrey Epstein in New York in 2019. Today is the first time that I ever speak publicly about what happened to me. As an immigrant from Brazil, I feel empowered knowing that the little girl struggling to get by at 14 and 15 years old finally has a voice. For the first time, I feel like I matter as an American.
It is sobering to watch as each woman takes the podium to show solidarity for one another and express anger at an administration that would rather use their trauma as a political tool than to actually grant them any justice they continue to fight for.
30 years later, we still do not know why that report wasn't properly investigated, or why Epstein and his associates were allowed to harm hundreds, if not thousands, of other girls and young women.
They never got to confront Epstein in court, but in this setting, they are able to open up about the nightmares they had endured in front of the whole country.
I was just one of the many young women trapped in his orbit. I was even taken on a trip to Africa with former President Bill Clinton and other notable figures. In those moments, I realized how powerless I was. If I spoke out, who would believe me? Who would protect me?
Some of these women have been carrying this weight for over 3 decades, and I can't even begin to imagine how gut-wrenching it must feel to know that there are agents in the Justice Department right now who know more about their sexual abuse than they do.
I ask you, President Trump, and members of Congress, why do we continue to cover up sexual abuse and assault?
By sitting on the files, the FBI and DOJ are not only depriving these women of the basic decency and respect they deserve, they are also actively making it more difficult for these women to process the horrifying experiences that Jeffrey Epstein and others subjected them to. While it is good to finally see members of Congress offering some support, it is still not enough, given the fact that the White House talks out of both sides of its mouth. On the one hand, you have the press secretary making the bold assertion that the Trump camp has done more than any previous administration in pushing for transparency. Although I won't sit here and defend any past administration's handling of the documents, I'm also not sure how true of a statement that can be when all this administration has done is give us a rehashing of already public files, manipulate security footage, and ruthless smears leveled against the very women at the heart of this story. I'm sorry, but you cannot claim to care about victims while cutting quid pro quo deals with their abusers. There is no way to simultaneously champion these women while at the same time writing them off as a hoax orchestrated by your political enemies. This isn't a partisan issue at all, and yet this is the kind of response you continue to see from Trump and his surrogates. This is a post I showed earlier. It's from Jessica Reed Krause, one of the MAGA influencers who received the Phase 1 Epstein binders back in February, defending Trump and Epstein's friendship while shamelessly attacking those who were abused. With all the lies being perpetuated and so many shameless ghouls co-opting the story to fit their own agendas, can you blame the survivors for disagreeing with the way the case has been handled? In the face of such a grave injustice, it is invigorating to hear that the victims themselves might be preparing to release a client list of their own, as Lisa Phillips declared in front of the Capitol.
Epstein was not just a serial predator, he was an international human trafficker. And many around him knew, many participated, and many profited. Us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list. We know the names. Many of us were abused by them. Now together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know.
Only time will tell where things go from here. But what the American public has indicated so far is that they're not about to let the topic fall to the wayside anytime soon, despite how desperately Trump would like us to move on, when really it's within the nation's best interest that we continue to hammer this administration until they release everything they have. And I do think we will be seeing more. It may not be today or tomorrow, but I hold out hope that it is coming.
I think transparency, hopefully there could be many outcomes, right? One, I do believe, is understanding the systemic failures that allowed this abuse to continue for so long. That's important for our country to keep children safe, is for us to understand what went wrong here. But also, I do believe there are people in positions of power that were very much implicated that have never been held accountable, and that the pressure could come from the public if they know what is in that information, that something might be done.
If you want more Epstein coverage, I plan to go over future updates on my second channel, Aubrey. I made this account years ago, but forgot to actually post on it. Sorry about that. That's on me. But if you want a deep dive on the infamous birthday book, Epstein's financial ties, or his murky links to Israeli surveillance and Peter Thiel, click the link down below and subscribe if you want. Other than that, I appreciate you watching this conclusion to my 5-part series on Jeffrey Epstein. I'm gonna go back to more regular, hopefully less sordid topics now, but then again, we'll see how long I stick to that. I don't really know how to end this video, so go watch the press conference by Perversion of Justice.
Yeah, I love Aubrey. All right, hold on. Let me go to here. Let me subscribe. The video. Turn on a light. Everybody close your eyes for a second. I'm gonna turn on light. Oh god. Okay. Control C. Control V. There we go. Okay. Go subscribe to the second Aubrey account. All right. I am gonna get out of here for tonight, but don't leave because we're gonna raid into Tim as soon as I figure out how to. But I am here tomorrow. I don't normally stream on Tuesdays, but I am getting surgery this weekend. Oh my god, Hassan's still alive. It's 8 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock at night. He feeling all right? Usually he's half day Hassanabi. Anyway, I'm gonna raid into Tim. Back tomorrow. I will not be streaming Thursday or Friday because I'm getting surgery. And Wednesday at 8 o'clock is the quiz. The link for the playlist of all the stuff we went over, plus Tuki's Fahrenheit 9/11 will be on the quiz. It's 10 questions long. Multiple choice and one true and false. So that's gonna be Wednesday at 8 o'clock. It's not gonna take very long. I don't want to. No, I'm not trying to share it. I'm trying to raid. WTF, mate? All right, is Tim still on? Yep, he is. Okay, ready? All right, we're gonna raid in. Make sure you click the raid button. Start raid. Progress. How do I get to chat? No. there a way to get to Okay, alright. Is he gonna let me rate out? What the fudge? I don't really understand how it works. I'm gonna be honest, because I should be able to click a button that says like rate out. Creator dashboard. Do I have to like add a chat button in here? Rate again. I already have a rate in progress. Okay, so how do I go? Anyone help me? Okay, everybody go to Tim, okay? Here, I'll go follow Tim. It's linked in the Discord. Oh wait, here we go. Rate out now. It was up there.